Innocence, but other than that, it was great. We'll go again. Huh?
One more time.
Somehow our...
That's my sound, man.
Good morning from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, by the way. Sound nervous there. Whoa, new theme. Woo! We finally got the license. We got it from Rogers.
Combing
Welcome.
the depths of the TMU for a quarterly review of fact checks, figures, and phrases that you didn't know you needed. It's FOTMCast with your hosts, Toronto Mike, Cam Gordon, and Tyler Campbell.
My apologies to the VP of Sales for talking all over you. I didn't know you were coming in there.
I was coming in.
You talked and your lips didn't even move.
Amazing.
You came in 4 beats too late, okay, VP?
I came
expect
in
better.
exactly the right time.
Do I do the normal intro? This is I never remember how we do these episodes.
Do an intro.
Welcome to episode 1661 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Yes, we are open. Season 8, an award-winning podcast from FOTM Al Grego and the good people at Moneris. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto Skyline, a podcast and book.
Relentless.
From Nick Aines, sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Management, Inc. Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921, and today I will unveil a new sponsor. I have new swag for you two gentlemen. Welcome to the family, Silver Wax. Joining me today for the first quarter of 2025's FOTM cast, it's FOTM Hall of Famer Cam Gordon and the VP of Sales, Tyler Campbell.
Hello, Mike. What's the name of the song again? Remind me?
Speed Demons.
Speed Demons, right. Yeah.
And how much did we pay for this, Tyler?
$0.
$0. Well, this is just on like a CD, like a library of theme music. It's not like Rogers went out and got Vibe to create a theme for primetime sports.
It would be interesting how much did telemedia and sort of all the people that hosted primetime sports over the years actually pay to use this song.
Probably the same as we paid.
Whatever that CD cost with all the... it was $18.99 at Music World.
It's a cool song. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
No, it works, and we hear it. We get pumped up. We're gonna hear greetings and salutations from the Bobcat. Maybe we'll have FOTM Stephen Brunt by his side. Maybe it'll be Damian Cox. Maybe it'll
just
be
the selfies. Okay, or what?
The late great
just for now.
Jim Kelly. Who knows who we're gonna have with non-FOTM
Jim
Bobcat?
Kelly.
Yeah, you remember Jim Kelly?
No.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
Yeah, he passed away too early.
Not Jim Hunt.
Not Jim Hunt. He also passed away.
Okay.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Here's a measuring tape for you, VP.
All right.
Here's a Ridley Funeral Home measuring tape for Cam Gordon.
Into the pile.
FOTM Hall of Famer. Another great intro. You put that together, right, Tyler?
I did put it together. The Whitney Houston estate did reach out and express some concern about our usage of the track that we use for the first 4 FOTM casts. So we have a new theme.
We made a modification.
We did.
Can I hijack FOTM cast right off the top here?
Please do,
Okay.
Mike.
I have, this is exciting for all the listeners. I'm shaking over here. I'm so excited. I have a piece of audio that another FOTM Hall of Famer wants me to play. And I'm going to play it right now. You ready?
Yes.
It's time to induct someone new into the prestigious Friends of Toronto Mike Hall of Fame. It's amazing what this guy does for us. He reached out to Neil Young's management in an attempt to get him on Toronto Mike. I've been a miner for a heart ago. He was denied, but then he cornered Sarah Harmer at a West End Phoenix event.
And I know we're gonna have to fix the road.
She's yet to appear, but this guy once made backyard oven pizzas for Toronto Mike and his family. Oh, yes, he's driven Toronto Mike to TMLX events at Palmer's Kitchen. He co-hosts quarterly FOTMcast episodes of Toronto Mike and has gone above and beyond to support his favorite independent podcast. We'll excuse the fact that he lives in Mimico, but we finally inducted Tyler Campbell, the Vice President of Sales, into the FOTM.
Bravo. Well deserved.
Friends of Toronto Mike Hall of Fame.
Hear ye.
I'm a little emotional.
He can't continue, Cam. Is that how you felt, Cam, when you were inducted?
Yeah, absolutely. Although as a joint induction,
I should have done this. You had to share that with the great Stu Stone, but I think I should have played that at the end. So VP was through all the important stuff he has to do. I want everyone to know. Tyler looks like he's kind of speechless. He's verklempt.
Yeah.
Okay. Tyler, congratulations. You are now in the prestigious FOTM Hall of Fame. Did you think this day would ever come?
I didn't. I really didn't.
You dared to dream.
I dared to dream, but there are so many worthy people out there. It's a very exclusive class of people who are in the Hall of Fame, and I'm just so honored to be included with them. I'm blown away. Thank you very much for this great honor.
It's long overdue, and I will now change the introduction for the next FOTM cast. That it's FOTM Hall of Famer Cam Gordon and FOTM Hall of Famer VP of Sales Tyler Campbell.
That feels I can't even
pinch yourself.
Yeah.
As Brian Dunn would say, pinch me.
Very nice.
How are you guys? How are you guys doing?
Good. It's nice to see you guys again. We were just hanging out at the Skydome / Rogers Center. 3 days ago?
Saturday.
Yeah.
So this is Monday, Tuesday.
Have a shit game, but I had a great time. We're in the back row. We're in the center field bar. Had a GLB on tap.
I found Octopus Wants to Fight on tap. Do you guys mind if I crack open a beer?
Yeah,
I'll do this.
Have a celebratory beer, Tyler Campbell.
Cheers
FOTM Hall of
to you
Famer.
guys.
Cheers.
Okay, so here we go.
Cheers.
Clink.
I needed that. Okay. So what were your thoughts on we did, for the listenership, Tyler scored some tickets to the Dome on Saturday.
Scored is probably a very generous terminology for that.
Yeah.
We all met. I biked over. I met you guys. Our seats were weak sauce. And I know that they were right in front of the hotel.
Yeah.
Dome has a hotel.
You sort of peered in the window of the
I looked
hotel?
in the window to see if I wanted to see if I could see a bare naked lady.
Yeah.
So to speak.
See what I did there? Nobody in there, but then I sat on the ledge, and then a security person from the Dome came to basically tell me to get off that ledge.
Literally nobody else in the vicinity. We have photos of this.
Yeah, the No Fun Squad was
kind of a
was
cool
out.
photo.
So
Just
can
the
I,
back row.
and I had to confirm this happened. I couldn't believe my eyes. But so again, these are the worst seats in the Dome. Okay. As the
It's like
nosebleeds.
Bob Uecker homage.
Shout out
be
to Ridley
further
Funeral
away.
Home. Yeah,
Yeah.
these are the worst seats in the Dome, and there's a couple of guys sitting, but there's no one around them. Like, this is pretty early. There's no one there. Again, the worst seats in the Dome, and this is a rather cavernous place to play ball. And they're up there, and I saw that security guy who told me I had to get off the ledge went to these two guys to make sure they were sitting in the right seats. So my comment to you guys, and I find it fascinating, is if they had tickets to get into the Dome, they would be anywhere else but there. You know what I mean? This wasn't the 100 level. Oh, you guys are supposed to be in the 500 level. These were the worst seats in the Dome. So why was that security guard bothering to check if they're in the right
Who
seats?
gives a fuck if anyone's sitting
No,
in
and
the
It's
section?
there was a lot of
parody.
empty seats, right? There was tens of thousands of empty seats.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't answer you. I don't
You
know.
speak for Rogers, don't you?
Not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe
Tyler did that. He's got
There you go.
control of the board.
How about get the raw one on the phone? Soon to be Rogers employee. As we look, anyway, we'll get to that.
Well, that's the final
Obviously, we'll
episode of
get
the
to-
last
oh my
quarter,
God.
and we're going to dive in. What did you guys think overall before we get into Wrapped? What did you guys think of this past quarter of in the TMU? Toronto Mike Universe, everybody.
I mean, could you pack more stuff into a quarter? I don't think you could.
Yeah.
I felt you weren't working hard enough.
How many of these have we done now? This is about the
This is the
sixth?
fifth one that we've
Fifth.
done.
Okay.
Well, fifth and then plus the lexicon episode before that.
Because I do feel like we say that every quarter, and then it just continues to escalate, and you continue to like spread
Well, you
out
guys
over
kind of
like
shame me.
mainstream
Like
media.
I do, and I'm going to warn everybody. Like the third quarter of the year, I try to do fewer episodes so I have more time to kayak and bike.
Yeah.
Because that is July, August, and September.
Yeah.
And if you live in Toronto, those are the primo 3 months.
I feel like
right?
you take your camping trip where you got
Yeah, I have
that
camping
deal with the
trip
car,
in July.
your sort of PR exercise that you do
right.
there.
You know what it's like, right?
Sure.
So
yeah, I'm on the other side.
So
dude.
when it's months like this, January, February, March, I feel like I gotta hustle. I gotta create some compelling content for the people. I work my ass off for you guys.
You do.
Well, did you ever create some compelling content this quarter?
Okay, so I'm
Like
excited about
Toronto
Wrapped. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm still in charge of it. You guys might both be Hall of Famers, but I'm still in charge on here. One final round around the horn. Yeah, we're gonna go around the horn, and
Yep.
we're going to I want to comment on what you thought about the vibe from the Dome on Saturday. That was the first Saturday game of the season at the Dome. Blue Jays versus Baltimore Orioles. I want to know what you thought of the vibe, and then Tyler's going to set up this episode to remind everybody what the hell is FOTMcast. So let's start with you, Cam. What did you think of the vibes at the Dome on Saturday?
In the actual seats was really flat. It's interesting. Like we may have seen a very historical game, as perhaps it could quite conceivably be Max Scherzer's only game he ever pitches for the Blue Jays. So there's that. But yeah, the vibe was not great in the stands. I quite like just hanging out in the bar. And when I went home, I told both my daughter and my wife separately about you guys should go with your separate friends, because I did find it quite fun just to hang out back there and see all the food and walk around and stuff. And the fact that you can get tickets very cheaply now, it's kind of a place to hang out. The 3 p.m. start time's kind of fun.
Can't you go to GLB Brew Pub and have a cheaper drink and watch on the television?
Yeah, but I don't know. I also remember we for the last inning we were on that little overhang looking out over
Right.
the Orioles bullpen. That was kind of cool. I don't know if I'd pay to go in there at this point, but it was fine. But yeah, in the stands, kind of lacking, I would say.
What did you think, Tyler?
Yeah, same. Like the vibe in the stands was really flat. Tons of empty seats for the opening series of the season, which is usually a pretty well attended
Divisional rival.
Yeah. Now it is still, or was still, March, so maybe people aren't.
And it was rainy.
And it was rainy, so
Yes.
definitely some.
We do have a dome.
We do.
Yeah.
So definitely some other factors at play. But yeah, it's just the vibes around this team in general are just so lousy, and they were terrible last year. Vladdy's probably gone at the end of this year. Bo's probably gone at the end of this year. Who's coming to follow? Kind of
Stu
nobody.
Stone says that Ross Atkins is doing a great job.
Yes, yeah.
It's
What was the word that he used to describe Trump? Sensational?
Remarkable.
Remarkable. Yes, he's doing a remarkable job.
It is
Much like the
a job to
president's.
be remarked upon.
Okay, so we all agree the vibes were off. It felt flat.
were
We
ill.
had a good time.
Ill vibes.
Again, I was in
Great
ill
time.
vibes. I enjoyed this is new to me that I could find Great Lakes beer at the Dome, and I had to hunt a little bit, but in the 100 level on tap, I had an Octopus Wants to Fight, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the company.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Tyler, for the tickets. Set us up, Tyler. What is FOTMcast? And we'll get into this.
Yes. So this is a quarterly episode that the three of us do. Few people realize that the TMU is strictly governed by a charter, and that charter states that each quarter there must be a recounting of the events of the past quarter, recorded no later than the 15th day of the first month of the following quarter. Now, we've already violated that statute once, as our Q3 cast
That was all Cam, right?
fell on the 17th, and to do that,
I was away.
Cam,
That sucked.
it was Cam's fault.
Yeah.
To do that, we had to visit the Governor General and receive express written consent. So we cover it all. We cover the pure numbers. We recap the guests and events of the past 3 months. If you only listen to one episode of Toronto Mike per quarter, it probably shouldn't be this one because we go too deep.
Well, that's an important
It's too
point,
hot.
though. Like, if you're new to the TMU, the Toronto Mike's universe, and you're new to this whole experience, maybe you saw me on CNN and you're like, let me check it out, and this is the first episode you're listening to. Don't do that, okay?
Yeah.
This is a very meta episode with a small M.
Step back from the edge.
It's an inside look at the universe, the what happened in the previous quarter, and it should never be your first episode.
Yeah. Well, remember when we were talking about switching up the theme song? One of them we talked about as one of the themes for This Week in Baseball. So it's a bit of that. If you watch all the games, it's a way to sort of recap what you might miss and some details on top of that. And it's a holiday today as well. Well done.
Big
well
day.
done.
Gathering Crowds is the Twib song that we
Gathering
all love.
Crowds, yeah.
And it's great. And I could have played that, but this is the only day of the year where it makes
Speaking
sense.
of great songs.
But this is an FOTM jam.
Yeah.
So shout out to both Chris Tates. They're both great.
We celebrate them today.
Who's the other one again?
Chris Tate.
Okay. Stepped right in that one.
Okay, so the Chris Tate from the Lazarettes is different than the Chris Tate.
Lazarettes, okay.
Yeah, from the Chalk Circle.
Right.
And this is, of course, Chalk Circle's April Fool.
Yeah.
I posted on Bluetooth. Well, no, where did I post it? On Blue Sky. Bluetooth. I can't talk. I think it's too late in the day for an FOTMcast. But I did see Hamilton Mike, and I saw Robbie J, a couple of people we know in the universe, who were talking about how U2 this song is.
Yeah.
Like they said, if you listen to this, it's totally U2.
I'd say you could even narrow it. It's totally the Edge from U2. Like that guitar is very Edge. What's that guy's name? I'm trying to think of his real name.
Adam?
David Evans.
Oh,
David. Okay.
I believe.
Phil Evans.
Something Evans.
Yeah.
I think it's David.
Bob Evans.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, very, very U2. Absolutely.
So happy April Fool's Day to everybody listening in the TMU. If this is your first episode, go back. Actually, we're going to wrap up the previous quarter off the top, and we'll talk about some of the great episodes of the previous quarter. So you'll hear a little clip maybe. You can go cherry pick that episode, soak it in. Don't be an Elvis. Enjoy this experience. And then if you stay on top of what's happening, you'll be totally ready for the next FOTMcast, which will be May, June, July, which will be early July. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay, look at that. I'm very good at it.
I guess technically it would be Canada Day if we did 3 months to the day.
Yeah.
By the way, Mike, congratulations. This is the first time I've ever heard Chalk Circle come up where you didn't say it was my very first concert at the forum. So congratulations.
Did I mention
Avoided
that's
a trigger.
First concert I ever... I'm trying to get better at these. The great Al Grego, who was here today.
He was.
Why?
Oh.
Al Grego dropped off a new poster because season 8
Good for him.
of Yes We Are Open
He's
is
hustling.
dropping this month, and
Love it.
he went to Saskatchewan. Have you guys ever been to Saskatchewan?
I've never been.
I have been through on a bus, but no, I don't think we even got out when I did
Been to
that.
Dog
No.
River? Where did you go?
Is that like the Regina?
Yeah.
Like the Parliament building?
So that's
Okay.
Regina.
Okay. Nice.
And I'm going to be sharing with the listenership what I learned on season 8 of Yes We Are Open, and you can follow along on that adventure by subscribing to Yes We Are Open, an award-winning podcast from the Cuddly One, FOTM Al Grego. But he dropped off the poster, and I have speakers for you two gentlemen from Monaris.
Perfect.
So
Box
there you go.
in.
You each get a speaker from Monaris, and thank
Wonderful.
you to Monaris, and thank you to Al Grego.
It's cool.
There once was a girl from Regina.
Yeah.
Finish that for
I don't
me.
know the rest.
I don't know how that goes.
Yeah.
Where's Wendell? Kelvington.
That's
right.
Kelvington. Yes.
Where's Wendell? He's right over here.
Right.
The great one.
He is now the great one. Did you get that memo?
Yes.
I'm going to make that happen.
God, I had another comment on the
So
raw
much
one,
going
but I'll hold it. So much Mike Richards stuff to unpack here.
So will we get to Mike Richards? It's the final episode. Will we get to Mike Richards in the Wrapped?
We'll talk about Mike Richards. Yeah.
Well, that's all I asked.
Yeah. There's more to come on Mike Richards.
Before we start...
Jackets.
Yeah, well,
I just want to play with the toys, but we'll do that after.
there's a lot going on here
See
today.
Edge swag over there.
It's a feast
So-
for the eyes in here.
If you're following Toronto Mike on YouTube, I posted a video. I took a video of me unwrapping a gift that arrived from FOTM Sandra Plagakis. It came all the way from Ottawa. Actually, it came from Rogers Radio. But I didn't want to put that in the video in case she wasn't allowed to send stuff that's not Rogers related. So I get this package. I just put it on an FOTMcast, but no way
It's like an
is Rogers here. It's like burying something. It's like the witness protection program.
Like an unbox. So this is you did a full unboxing.
I sat
or
here. I sat here with the package.
Geraldo
Yeah.
Al Capone vault.
They broke into the vault of Capone. They couldn't find Jack, so they all went home. Well, my vault can never be opened. I locked it.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Joel Goldberg today too, who directed that video I just quoted. So that I got a wonderful
Treasure. That jacket is sick. I
That
bet.
is.
Yeah,
I was
that's
going to wear
very
it for
cool.
Bob Willett. Like, just I don't think he'll see the video because Bob's so busy with his indie work.
Yeah.
When we have the next toast, I was going to be wearing that jacket because Bob Willett was at 102.1 when those jackets were handed out.
Wow. So
Hot
it's
jacket.
So that's like a mid 90s logo, I guess.
I'm
102.1
going to
The Edge.
say that's maybe. Yeah, actually,
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what it's from.
Gonna-
But it's from the Plagakis era.
Get my hands on that.
So later 90s, I think. I don't
Check
think
that
Bob
out.
even arrives at the Edge until like 98 or something like that. So I'm going to say late 90s, I think, for that. But
Very cool.
We'll find out here. So I need to share a thought I had, okay? When somebody comes on Toronto Mike, like Mike Richards or like Maestro Fresh West, who I just quoted from Drop the Needle there, they become FOTMs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sure.
so if this is an FOTM, that's an FOTM. My thought is, and this is admittedly, this came to me on a bike ride where I realized not all FOTMs are created equal. I wasn't comfortable with the fact, and all due respect to her, but Michelle Geister shouldn't be at the same level, in my opinion, as Dave Hodge or like some Rick Hodge. Okay, I'm gonna pick on all the
of the
fucking
Hodge,
Hodges.
yeah.
Okay, but why do you get to be at FOTM? Because you zoomed in. Like, I feel like we need 3 levels of FOTM. Like, these are like differentiating titles for FOTMs. I was thinking, if you record in person, you're one level, and if you record remotely, you're another. And to go further, if you record in person in the basement, that's like primo level designation, right? As opposed to Jim Cuddy or Barney Bentall or Chuck D, who recorded in person, but I had to go somewhere. Okay,
So sorry.
these are, let me repeat the 3 levels. So,
Sure.
and I have names, and I'm going to just run this by you, and then
Yeah.
we'll get
Yeah.
to the rep. But the highest level of FOTM means you have been in the basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've been in the studio, so if it predates the basement, it still qualifies. But
Okay.
so Jonathan Torrance,
Yeah.
even though he was in the second floor bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Backyard episodes.
Yeah, they
for that
count
as
too.
well?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
you're live. You came to me.
You've
we
trudged
recorded.
down to
You-
South Etobicoke.
You came to South, right? So that's the highest level of FOTM. You're in person on my on my turf.
Yep.
Okay. The second highest level is you're in person, but not on my turf. Like, maybe it was at a TMLX event. Maybe it was at Christie Pitts. Maybe it was Chuck D style, where I went and interviewed you at the CNE Grandstand. Barney Bentall was at the CBC downtown. Who was the other person? But you get the idea. Like,
So
yeah.
in this scenario, someone who hops on the mic for 5 minutes at Christie Pitts is at the same level as Chuck D.
Yeah, like, yes, in this scenario, correct. In this
Okay.
scenario, you were on my mics,
Yeah.
we were in person,
Yeah.
but you didn't come on my turf, okay?
But that's more like a drive-by appearance. I think of our,
Okay, we
our
can get- this is very
mutual
good.
friend Ruth Caplis, for example. I'm
Caplis.
not
Yeah.
sure. So
Okay.
Ruth Caplis, Chuck D, about the same. You're saying?
Okay,
Ruth K, Chuck D.
I am saying that.
Oh,
But again,
okay.
we have to
Okay.
flesh this
Yeah,
out.
it's your show.
And then the lowest level of FOTM, but still in FOTM, is
The lowest of the low one.
the lowest. Yeah, shout out to Tyler's
Go.
T-shirt, lowest low. But the lowest level of FOTM is a remote appearance.
Okay.
Okay. We all know the people who haven't been on my mics, but have been on Toronto Mic most recently, and I try to do very few of these a month. But I'm thinking of Greg Keeler, Michelle Geister. These are a couple I'm
Okay.
thinking from the last quarter. There aren't many of these anymore. But Kish, we're going way back for that one, but this is the anniversary of the Kish appearance. So Kish would be the FOTM of the lowest. So I was thinking, what are these names we give? And this is very complicated. We're going to move on to the Wrapped in a second. But the Order of Canada, I'm a proud Canadian. Are you guys proud Canadians?
Yes, of course.
Yes, I pledge allegiance to the
Absolutely.
Maple Leaf.
The Order of Canada has 3 levels, okay? They have companion, officer, and member, okay? So really, we could mimic these levels. People would need to be educated in which order they go and what they mean, but that's part of the fun. It's inside.
Sorry, what people
it's
need to...
the listenership.
Listen.
The listenership. Come on, Cam, stick around.
Okay.
Like MF
Following.
would want to know.
Yeah.
MF would want to know, why is this person a FOTM companion and this person's an FOTM member and this person's an
Okay.
FOTM
Sure.
officer? So we would basically, I think, I believe it goes, the lowest level is companion, and then it's officer, and then it's member, and I could have that flipped. Can
Yeah.
somebody search that for me? So we'll get this right, and
Okay.
then everybody gets like these initials. You're
There's
either
different-
CC, OC, or CM. So we will flesh this out so we don't get it backwards, because now that I said it out loud, I think maybe member is the lowest member, lowest rung on the ladder here, and then officers in the middle, and companion's the top,
Can I-
where you came
yeah.
into the basement. What are your thoughts, VP, as I flesh this out loud?
I was just reading.
You were just yawning?
Yeah, it's companion officer member are the.
So the
tiers.
lowest is
The lowest is member.
Okay, so there you go. Greg Keeler is an FOTM member. He's an FOTM member. So it'd be a FOTM. I got to work this out. But he's an FOTM member. Okay. Chuck D is an FOTM officer, and Donovan Bailey is an FOTM companion because he came into the basement.
He's been to the basement.
Yeah.
Can we at least chew on this for a bit?
Oh,
but don't you think we need to differentiate between the people who zoom in and the people who come to the basement?
Well, can I put my, I do a lot of, as you guys know, issues management professionally. Are you going to risk offending somebody?
No, because they're still in FOTM.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we have this in the vernacular, but like people who, have come down there and they think it's they sort of don't know where they are. Is this a radio show? Is this live? Whatever. Are you going to confuse them further with this tiering and potentially offend people?
Well, if we get the names right, this won't be so confusing and gobbledygook. If we get the names right. So maybe that's our homework. To what it so we can differentiate between the Greg Keeler, the Jim Cuddy, and the Scott Thompson.
Okay.
Right? Those are three different levels.
Can I give a serious thought? I think this will actually come up again today.
Yes, sir.
Well, one thing that Mike, I say this with complete sincerity, I think you should be applauded the fact that you have people on where you don't necessarily agree with their views, political views, how they live their lives. Might be deemed somewhat problematic, but you give them...
Enough about Stu Stone.
Yeah, not naming names. Would this be sort of a countermeasure to that where everyone gets access to the mic to say their piece? You'll push back if you need to, but are you going to be like placing like different levels and like assigning people different roles?
These levels are strictly based on the effort
Just throwing it out there.
The effort that the guest had to exert to be on Toronto Mic'd. Because let's face it, if I say to you, this is my address, knock on the side door. Yeah. The people who do that, they're top tier. That's top shelf, okay? Sure. But the people who say, the Chuck D's, I'll talk to you in person, but I can't get to that location. You're going to have to come to me. That's a level in the middle. Mm-hmm. And then there are the people who are like, I'll come on, but we're going to, like Miles Goodwin, I'm thinking, like, we're going to Zoom it or phone it.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, I just wanted those three levels. I want a differentiation. And we need to come up with maybe better terms than the Order of Canada, because it's even confusing me.
Yeah, I think there's some workshopping to be done here.
Definitely.
I think it's tricky because in the case of someone like, you look at the Blue Rodeo guys, for example, Jim Cuddy, you went to him at the woodshed because you really wanted to talk to Jim Cuddy, and it was worth it to you to pack up your studio and bike out to the East End and talk to Jim Cuddy.
Shout out to Riverdale.
Exactly. Greg Keeler we'll talk about Greg shortly. He's someone you didn't necessarily think would come to the basement.
I didn't think I'd ever get Greg Keeler.
He doesn't live in town. It's, he's maybe doesn't get the whole vibe.
Right.
But you had an opportunity to Zoom with him and you jumped on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So not in both cases, not necessarily the fault of either of those guys that they didn't come to the basement. I mean, Greg maybe, but you just sort of took a chance and went with the Zoom. But you chose to sort of do it that way, right?
It's true, but I feel we need to differentiate because I feel like the in-person, even if it is at the woodshed, is a higher level FOTM than the let me Zoom with this guy for an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But then it's also, like Vernon Reed, for example.
Good example.
Yeah, so you Zoomed with him because he lives where? New York. New York City?
Yeah.
So that's out of really necessity.
But,
it's
Zoom he can get on a plane or drive over here to get that top tier if it's important to him, right? Like the opportunity always exists, right? Yeah.
Vernon, you have the opportunity if you wish to become.
Everyone has the opportunity to do it.
Doors are always unlocked.
Yeah. If I really want to talk to you and you're willing to let me come to you, but you won't come to me, I'll make that call for myself.
Sure.
But that whole Leona Boyd level, I feel the Leona Boyd level, which is, I'll go on Toronto Mike, but I'm in wherever she is now. I don't know. She was in Florida, but now I think she's here. But I'll go on Toronto Mike, but I'm not visiting Toronto Mike.
Okay.
Like I just want to have 3 tiers.
Okay.
And say they were a repeat guest. Say once they've been here down in the basement, twice they've done by Zoom.
If you do one appearance in this basement, you're top tier, brother.
Lifetime membership.
Marcy Ian, for example,
Gotcha.
she is tier 1.
Yeah.
Because she came down to the basement.
She cashed in her tier 3 and picked up a tier
And this
1.
does
Okay.
happen. You're right. There are people who do returns, and I'm like, I'm not zooming with you again, but you can visit. And then they say, okay, I'm going to visit the basement this time. And then they get promoted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we? So the names we need to think of, but do you understand the premise of this? And again, you're saying, Mike, why over? An FOTM is an FOTM. I get that, but I don't think so. I think that the person who Zooms with me for an hour, I don't think they should be at the same level as the person who's knocking on my side door.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a controversial take?
I mean, it's not controversial. It's I think for me, I just need to absorb it, and I think there's some
All right.
some more discussion to be had.
Let's
All right.
roll it around on your tongue a bit, see how it feels.
90 minutes on this,
Yeah.
and then we'll
Yeah,
get to it. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready?
Oh my God, are we
Compelling
ever?
stuff.
All right, this is the wrapped segment. This is the long segment. So
is
the
gonna be
other
very
segments are pretty short. This one's pretty long.
Yeah.
Let's start with you, Tyler. Maybe you have a tale of the tape or something.
Sure, I do. Can you actually do me a favor before we jump
Yeah,
into this?
anything.
Can you up the level on my laptop?
Yeah,
Or is it-
but
is it
I'm
right up
actually
there?
close to
Oh,
the
is it
top.
right up there?
You have to up.
I'm at the top.
You're at the
Yeah.
top.
All right. Maybe that's just a quiet clip. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Well, we'll
whatever.
find out soon enough.
Yeah. Just do that one more time.
But you're completely top shelf.
Okay, that's
here.
fine. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we'll touch on the usual numbers in a moment. But I wanted to do this segment a little bit differently. I wanted to make sure that we captured everything from the quarter. So I kind of wrote a narrative of exactly what happened over these last 3 months. It's kind of a TikTok, if you will, because it's quite remarkable. I'm not going to mention every single episode from the quarter because it was jam-packed, but there are really just a number of highlights that I want to touch on. But let's just quickly touch on the numbers. So the 51st quarter of the Toronto Mike podcast had 50 episodes right on the nose.
Really?
Yep. 3 fewer than Q4, but more than Q2 and Q3 of last year.
Okay, so the first episode was 1610.
Yeah.
If I'm right. And the last episode was Mike Richards. He was 1660.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. 50 on the nose. Beautiful.
You had 59 guests in total, which was 4 more than Q4. But 32 of those were first-timers versus just 19 first-timers last quarter.
You know, I felt I had a lot of first-timers this past quarter.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about this a little bit in the Q4 cast, where I think you were focusing just a little bit more on repeats in Q4, and this quarter you got
Inbounds, maybe.
a bunch of new blood.
So I went out, a lot of this new blood you got to go out and hunt for. Patrick Pentland isn't just dropping by because he's in the neighborhood, right? So I think I hustled hard this first quarter of 2025, and the result was more fresh meat.
Yes, and it was very fresh.
Thank you.
Very fresh. A couple of new honors. So Rob Pruce becomes the 7th member of the 30 Timer Club.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Get
to
that
Rob
guy in the Hall of
Bruce.
Fame.
He was in the spoons.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
One day.
And 2 people became members of the 10 Timer Club, including Mike Richards
Wow. Well deserved, Mike.
and me.
And you're in the
And
Hall
now
of
I'm
Fame.
in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So, and we are the
I'm
20th.
surprised it's only 10
Yeah.
because we did those hip episodes.
Yeah.
And then you dropped by to do a recap of the Chantal Creviage.
Yeah. Well, that was actually my 11th.
That was your,
appearance.
okay.
She had a big quarter too.
She
Yeah, well, I got a clip to play.
So sorry, how many people have been double digits?
So there are now 21 members of the 10 Timer
21.
Club.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because it was such a packed quarter, I don't want to overlook the contributions of the Toast crew. The 3 of you once again delivered 3 very strong episodes.
Thank
Shout
you.
out to Bob Willett for his continued excellence on Indie 88. He's killing it.
He's
over
carrying
there.
that station.
He is. He really is. And to number 1 sweetheart, Rob Pruce, the Paul Schaefer of the TMU, the light to chat with, wonderful guy. We love Toast.
And Rob Pruce has promised to have a new closing theme for the next episode of Toast.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Looking forward to that.
Like
Easter
a new
egg.
full-time, like closing? Like just you're going to
We'll
swap
find
it?
out. I don't even want to sneak peek. I'm going to play it and discover it in real time.
Excellent.
One thing I wanted to mention, because we neglected to bring it up in the Q4 cast, was FOTM Paul Farberman in one of the great eps from
Who
Q4.
phoned me last week? He called me.
Oh, wonderful.
He called me to say, "Did snow ever get into your calendar?"
Oh.
And I said, "Not yet." And then he sent a note.
Sounds like
to
a
Snow.
drug deal. Like,
Yeah.
did Snow ever get into
And
your
then
calendar?
I get a text with a Shamrock top of the morning or something, like he's
Oh, very nice.
like he's House of Pain or something.
Sure. Lucky Charms.
And now he's in the calendar for May 5th.
Very
Mayfest
exciting.
snow.
Well, we'll look forward to chatting about
That's
that.
going to be a big one.
in the
Snow,
next.
Snow in May.
Yes.
Is that a Northern Pikes album? Was it not? Snow in May?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
think it was.
That's, by the way,
Wow.
that's Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Home's favorite band of all
Really?
time, the Northern Pikes.
Yeah. Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, good band.
It's a fun and an FOTM band.
That's right. Jay Semko was on.
Jay Semko.
Yeah. So anyway, Paul Farberman, he's kind of a Zelig figure in Canadian music. He's been everywhere.
Shout out to Catherine McClanahan.
That's right. So in his episode, he talked about being at the recording of Tane, Tears Are Not Enough, with his girlfriend at the time, FOTM Catherine McClanahan. One of the little Tane unsolved mysteries was whether Richard Manuel of the band, was actually at the recording. So he's on the wiki page as being there. But I've watched that doc very closely, and I can't see him. I've looked at the chorus photos. I can't see him. So anyway, after the recording, I said to you, I wish that I'd asked a question of Paul as to whether Richard was actually there. So you reached out to him after the episode, and not only did he confirm that Richard Manuel was there, but he confirmed it by reaching out to Richard Manuel's widow.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is
Like that's what we're giving back to the universe. Okay.
Like
we all deserve to have Order of Canada designations
true.
as far as I'm concerned.
like that's I think the band is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not just the Juno Hall. Like that is a worldwide
They invented
famous
Americana.
band.
Yeah.
Huge.
wow.
Huge.
And I just,
Holy shit.
Tyler, while you were sharing that wonderful fun fact, I shared with Cam, somebody heard us talking about Tane. Well, we talk about Tane a lot. And was there
It's an understatement.
and sent me via snail mail, sent me what he received the day he was there. So Tyler, I don't know if Cam, you can explain what you have there, but that was handed out to everybody who attended the
I was gonna
recording.
say, I don't know what I'm looking at here. This is it's half like the program you used to get at the Jays game.
Yeah.
It sort of looks like a playbill.
Right.
It did a lot of like beer stuff. Like I could
Yeah.
hold it up
Yeah,
for the
you can do that. This
camera
is
there for
pre-Great
anyone
Lakes,
watching.
which I think was invented in '87.
So they gave this to the talent or
Yeah,
the
I think if you were there, you got
husbands and
handed
wives
that
and Paul-
booklet.
Yeah, like Paul Farberman
Right.
probably got one.
Catherine got one.
He got a stack of waivers.
Ian Thomas probably got
Yeah,
one.
this is really interesting. The sponsors is really interesting. Gay Lee,
oh wow.
Absolutely.
Myers
Butter.
Delicatessen, very very tasty.
You should do my ad read.
No, I'm gonna take some photos. This is no kidding aside. This is like really
Yeah, that's
interesting. Just
very cool.
It's also sort of just like a slice
Okay,
of like
so
corporate Canada.
You
in
can
that
take photos, absolutely, but I love the fact that a copy is now in the TMDS studio.
So sorry, who
Like,
gave this?
I don't have his name at my. He was there. He listens to Toronto Mike. He thought I would enjoy having this, and he said, "What's your address?" And I said, "It's this," and
that's
then it
amazing.
showed up.
That is Aussie. That's fucking unbelievable. Can I have it, please? I'm gonna forget to take a photo of it.
Anyway, it just fucking blows my mind that we're like one step removed from Richard Manuel's widow
right.
to be able to ask
Yeah.
that question.
You know, I think we're all similar vintage, but I think you think it's a big country, a big world. And then as you record 1,661 episodes of Toronto Mike, the world just shrinks.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
just shrinks. And then you realize you're really 1 degree away. And then you realize these people are just their flesh and blood like you. And, some of them are sweethearts like Paul Farberman, and they'll do that for you.
Yes.
I think this is sort of interesting because it's almost when you talk about the different like approaches to media. On the one hand, you have We Are the World, big splashy Netflix documentary, and now there's a
Right.
stage play, and I'm sure I haven't seen either. I'm sure they're great. And now on the flip side, we've got Tears Are Not Enough, which is like you see it surface a lot in like shitty like Facebook accounts or TikToks, and then you have Toronto Mike here, and you and I do the 2.5 hour deep dive, and we're filling in the Wikipedia page. I think both are valid. I don't know. I mean, this is just this is the way people are going to remember this stuff. And again, we've said this many times, Mike, credit to you for doing the work to fill in all these little cultural gaps that no one else is doing. They're just posting the same shit all over like Facebook,
the slop and all. Yeah.
Like I was talking to my friend the other day. Have you guys seen this? Like a really old photo. I'm sure Jeremy Hopkins has seen this a trillion times of like Joseph Bloor.
Of course,
yeah.
yes,
It's like
the
the meme.
famous photo.
Yeah.
And they have that version where he moves.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they do
Yeah.
that version, but he moves. Like he's animated.
I see this like weekly on
Yeah.
social media, different accounts. Like, look at this guy. He looks mean. Meanwhile, you're here. You're digging up the real shit. You're
I
fucking
literally
talking.
have him in the schedule. Joseph Bloor.
Bloor.
Okay.
Ridley Funeral Home is gonna sponsor that.
Nice.
Looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
Can I read the live stream before we
Please
get
do.
back to
Yes.
Tyler? Just real quick.
Yes.
I want to say, 'cause these are the sweethearts who are here on a Monday. Sorry, I keep thinking it's Monday. Tuesday night for FOTMcast. This only happens every quarter. And I mean, there's good people like Andrew Ward is here. What's he saying? The dome comment by Mike is a classic. You know, there's a jumping thing where it'll jump
yeah.
on me if someone comments, so I can't really do this. But he did say my enunciation was great. I don't know if he's being
Well done.
sarcastic, but you got a big congratulations from him for becoming an FOTM Hall of Famer.
Thank you so much, Gordo.
Andy also congratulates you. That album is called Snow in June.
Snow in June.
Not Snow in May.
Thank you.
But Andy has an interesting comment. Andy Pandy, shout out to you. It's funny because Andrew Ward also goes by the nickname Andy Pandy. So there are multiple Andy Pandys at live.torontomike.com right
Andrew
now.
Ward also goes by Andy Pandy.
Canada Kev told me that.
Really? Andrew Ward, can you confirm that, please?
Andy, the OG Andy, the New Kids on the Block, Degrassi loving Andy, says, this is probably the first FOTM cast when I'm totally up to date on all episodes in the relevant
Wow.
quarter. She feels very proud. And I think that's what this is
done.
about. Like, and there's been things we're going to talk about where my exposure was elevated and lots of people discovered this podcast. And I actually had a feeling like, I don't want to be a podcast for the masses. That's when you got to dumb it down with the Joseph Bluer bullshit. Like, I want this to be for the Andy Pandys,
Yeah.
okay? The Wardos.
Yep.
I want it to be for the Leslies, a specific type of listener. So I feel like this FOTM cast is like an opportunity to like scare away those newbies who don't really get the vibe around here.
Yeah.
Continue, Tyler.
100%.
Are there different levels of people in the TMU who listen to all the episodes or who show up on the live stream?
Well, that's for next quarter's episode. I'll come back with an idea. I got to get more bike rides.
Don't want to
for
get
that
into
one.
that. Okay. All right. So I don't want to dwell too much on the numbers. There's so much to cover, but it is important.
But how
that
does it rank? Like, was that a particularly busy quarter? Or is that
it was
typical?
on the busier side, but definitely
It felt busy.
Yeah, your busy quarters are like high 50s, low 60s. So this was
insane.
Yeah, this was a low end of the high.
The theme song
Volume.
explicitly states it's a weekly podcast. Do
That's
you know
right.
that's in the theme song?
It is weekly. Yeah.
All right, keep going. You're
Okay.
doing a great job.
So yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to talk through this. Please jump in any time. We'll sprinkle some clips throughout.
Okay.
Q1 began as any quarter does. Another stellar appearance by the great Ed Keenan. A fun year-end wrap-up by this very crew on FOTMcast.
Right.
The first non-recurring guest of the quarter was Arlene Bishop.
Wife of an FOTM.
That's right.
Ex-wife of an FOTM.
Yeah, Mrs. Blair Packham. Although, as I understand it, they maintain a great relationship.
They are good friends.
Very special episode. She brought a lot to the table. Stories about her late ex-boyfriend, her career. She's done
That story she told about waking up and
Oh,
her
my God.
boyfriend being dead beside her. Cam, did you listen to the Arlene? But he's been exposed. Everybody.
I did not hear this
Andy,
one.
you're the new co-host
I
of
did not hear this one.
FOTM.
I'm
Get
over
sorry,
here,
but
Andy.
yes.
But when she talked about she didn't know the number for 911, I've actually been like referring to that when Scott Thompson and others talked about what it was like to be in shock. Because everybody, you don't know how you're going to react till you're there. And everybody reacts differently. And Arlene didn't know the number for 911.
Yeah.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah. Great. Absolutely. So it's a
Actually,
great
it's not
episode.
an analogy. What would that be? Anyway, you know what I mean.
You know what? Give me back that Hall of Fame credential. Okay, I'm going to give
just
that to
warming up.
Andy.
All right. The next episode was Altered by Mom. Fun band.
I like them.
Yeah.
They're a couple.
Yeah. The return, it was a great chat. One notable thing I wanted to share here. This is just a fun thing for me personally and probably only me. We're going to do a tiny little game here.
Okay.
Cam, can you say for me the following phrase?
Oh, boy.
Okay.
That's actually a really good guess. Say that.
That's actually a really good guess.
Okay. Now I'm going to play Devin Lougheed from Altered by Mom saying the same thing.
That's actually a really good guess.
Oh, wow. poor guy. This guy's in a band. Is he the singer?
He's Kurt Cobain-esque.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I
Altered by Mom.
very.
See, I like them. I like their sound, and they're a fun couple, and I enjoy it. They've been over twice now.
Altered by
Gina
Mom.
Kennedy, Devin
yeah.
Lougheed.
Yeah. And
And-
Devin sounds a little like
And
Cam.
they're a real life couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, cute
And
band.
they're great.
You remember like sassy, like cute band alert.
So wait, so play it again now that we know you're going to say it sounds like Cam.
Sure.
That's actually a really good guess.
Wow.
It's sort of like Cam after a couple of
Yeah,
GLBs.
it's a little slurry.
Yeah,
But yeah. Anyway.
A little less monotone.
You know, I like that.
That's funny.
That's a fun fact.
Like
Devin from Altered by Mom, who, by the way, he worked with Ron Hawkins. Ron Hawkins and him did some work together, and Ron Hawkins produced some music for Manfred from Elephants and Stars. And I think we might get to a clip or not, but when we get to this episode, there's a guy who came over, and I think the main reason he got in that calendar was because of an effort by Manfred from Elephants and Stars.
We're
and I'm wearing the Elephants and Stars T-shirt to commemorate that fact.
I
to
feel
thank
like
him.
Manfred is almost an unsung hero of the TMU. He seems to come up a lot. I'm sure I've mentioned this. I worked with another guy in Elephants and Stars, Michael McMillan. At High Road Communications, but it seems like Manfred is the one.
We should
He's
slow
like
our roll because he's in this quarter. He'll be coming up.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
come back
get
to
him.
Manfred.
We'll get to him.
All right, back to Manfred.
More
Can't
Manfred
be
soon.
all about Manfred.
Okay, so things are really starting to heat up now because right after Altered by Mom,
Yeah, and this is still January.
we're still in
right?
January.
Okay, I'm all loosened
Charlie
up.
Angus
Wow.
stopped
my
by,
God.
and he's sort of like
Okay.
the catalyst for the whole quarter. So he stopped by for a chat about Trump, the 51st state threats. This was January 13th. Trump hadn't even been inaugurated yet.
Yeah, but he had started
but he
making
started on all
comments.
this bullshit, right?
And I was smelling a problem.
Yeah. So you and Charlie had a great chat about the state of things, and particularly about Wayne Gretzky. So, Mike, if you want to play clip.
Absolutely, I'm going to play a clip
Wonderful.
right now.
Well, I think back in the day, I probably watched every one of Wayne Gretzky's games. I hated the Boston Bruins, but boy, I cried when Bobby Orr couldn't play anymore. You know. But when Donald Trump announced that he wanted to run Wayne Gretzky as this puppet candidate, I thought, that's what Putin does.
Yep.
You know, Putin creates these puppet candidates that he's running. This isn't what you do in a democracy, and Wayne Gretzky should be ashamed of himself. Absolutely ashamed of himself. Don't bother coming back to Canada if you're even willing to consider being a puppet candidate. You should do the decent thing and say, in no way would I ever undermine my country. Wayne, you failed us.
Well, that's when it begins, you know.
So that was January 13th.
Yeah.
That episode.
You know, in the history books, when they look back at this war, that'll be like
That'll be a
the
moment.
catalyst.
Yeah.
That's like when
Well,
Franz Ferdinand was assassinated.
That's right.
The Archduke, not the Ben.
By Gavrilo Princip, I believe.
You know what? I didn't
That's a
know
fun
who it was.
fact,
That's
yeah.
now we're cooking. Shane, if you're
Okay.
listening, that's
Okay.
a fun fact.
And where it was in Sarajevo.
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 Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So that clip goes viral. It gets passed around on social media, and it's one of the increasingly more common instances of something that sort of pops outside of the TMU. And it's certainly not the last that we'll hear of you and Charlie.
I was going to say, much like Joseph Bloor, you start showing up on many different shitty social media accounts. It's like heavy aggregation of
That's
that
right.
clip.
It really did. And there were a few clips from Charlie. That one was the main one, but there was one about how, you know, not trusting Pierre Poilievre as prime minister or something.
Right.
And there was another one too. Charlie just was delivering the sound bites. He was on fire. And that episode came together very quickly. Like, I think on the weekend we exchanged notes. I said, Charlie, I was really bothered by these comments by Trump really early in January. And I said, Charlie, I got to talk about this. When can you visit the basement? And he said, how's Monday morning? And I realized after the fact, he was coming to town. He doesn't live here. He lives up in James Bay. Where is he? Up there?
Cobalt, I think.
No, he's...
I thought his daughter has a tea room in Cobalt. He's up there.
Very nice.
okay. Maybe I don't know where Cobalt is. So maybe you're right. But he's coming to town because he's going to go on the agenda with Steve Paikin. One of
right.
many guests who pops in here,
was gonna say,
rehearses,
That's
Yeah.
a circuit.
and then hits the agenda once they figured out what's working.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Shout out to Steve Paikin, who will never listen to this episode.
Oh, Steve.
So, Mike, how did you feel when that was getting so heavily aggregated? Like, do you ever have moments for? I know we're going to come to some other stuff pretty soon, but you know, your privacy just being so present out there. You know, does that ever like concern you?
Well, I put
don't
it
know.
out there, right? Like I
know.
recorded the
I know.
video. So this is a good example where
When you live your life in public, like you're
well,
very, very public
like
about.
I'm not sharing things I feel are like this is like, you know, Charlie Angus talking about Wayne
No, but
Gretzky.
there's photos of you and your kids all over the internet, for example, or like your opinions. You're on Blue Sky, you know, you have some strong opinions you share there. So like you're not afraid to share. Unlike me, who shares like not much unless it's about music or this show. So
No, you don't share very much. I probably overshare. I should probably rein it in a bit. But back to so that particular
your brand,
clip,
man.
though, that Charlie Angus thing was me deciding like, what if I did carve out some video clips for social media, because I haven't never done that. Like, I do often record video, but sometimes I don't record video. But then I just decided, like, what if I always recorded video? And what if, if there are interesting moments, what if I carve them out and put them on my YouTube channel? And then what if I did put them as a reel on Instagram? Or this is for Charlie Angus. It really went nuts on the app formerly known as Twitter. I don't know if Cam's familiar with this this app, but I'm not even on there anymore, so I don't even think I could do that today. But this was back in January. But that was surprising to see it get so much play. But I think Canadians were very interested in what Charlie Angus had to say about Gretzky, and there was only one place to go for that.
Right here, baby.
Right here, baby.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Wayne still has not said jack
Not a
shit,
word.
but he's apparently very sad.
Oh, yeah.
He's very sad.
I talked to Raw Mike Richards about this very fact. We haven't heard from Wayne yet, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Heard from Janet.
We heard from Janet. We heard from Bobby Orr. We haven't heard. Oh, and I know you're about to mention it, but there is an episode. It's after Charlie Angus. We're going to speak about it right now. But an episode where at the time I was like, if I did nothing else with Toronto Mike, this would be enough for me to drop the mic and say, okay, I did it.
So let's talk about that right now. So 4 episodes after Charlie comes Alan Gregg.
Yeah, so that's not who I'm talking about.
Not who you're talking about.
No.
Oh my God.
Chaz Lawther.
Oh, Chaz Lawther. Yeah, we can talk about
Chuck
Chaz.
the security guard.
Okay.
Like, this is a show we missed because we're all too young.
Yeah.
But I've been hearing so many things about it. Gare Joyce is on the final episode.
That's right.
And I pulled that clip and everything. But the fact that this Chuck the security guard, and I've been talking to Ed Conroy from Retro Ontario, and we've had it on Toronto Mike's Airways, but I just didn't really know what it was. But I started watching old episodes on YouTube, and I started to get, this is a live all-night thing on CFMT, and this guy is Chuck the security guard is the guy who kind of walks you through it all, and he's got a catchphrase, and there's a bunch of characters. This guy Ryerson, and this guy Chuck, also known as Chaz Lawther, who is known for a couple of other things in our life. He drops by the basement for a long chat about everything. And at the time, I remember thinking, okay, this is it, Chaz Lawther. I got Chuck the security guard to tell the full story, everything you wanted to know about the all-night show. So I feel it's been completely overlooked by the noise before it and after it, which you've even skipped it here.
I did.
Poor Drew, too, who gets skipped here. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, again, no disrespect to any guest that we might give short shrift to, but it was just such a packed quarter. But that Chaz Lawther episode was great.
Yeah.
I remember him from the Showcase movie.
The Drambuie Showcase review.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
High class.
Yeah.
And the other woman whose name will come to me in a minute, who used to do that, and she's passed away.
Oh.
Yeah.
But she was great, too, like
Yes.
the both of them.
He had a lot of good details just about like stand-up comedy in the 80s too, and sort of the Mark Breslin scene and Yuck Yucks. As someone who like famously doesn't laugh and doesn't like comedy, I found that all like really interesting.
Sure.
Just because it was a different, that was an emerging industry at the time.
And there's a guy who's going to be coming up later in the quarter, we'll mention, who really brings us into that world of the early 80s Yuck Yucks in Toronto.
Yes.
Okay. But now back to Alan Gregg.
Yes. So 4 episodes after Charlie, a couple episodes after Chaz, or Chuck the security guard, Alan Gregg. And at that point, after that episode, I was ready to call it. Like, that is the episode of the quarter, Alan Gregg. It was such a fantastic conversation. He's such a fascinating person. So many great stories. He's got a wide-ranging career. He's a political consultant.
Excellent guest, and we should absolutely give some credit to Jesse Hirsch.
Yes.
Who told him to come on Toronto Mike.
That's right.
No Jesse, no Alan. No Alan. Right.
Yeah. He's worn many hats. Most probably relevant or famous for us would be as co-manager of the Tragically Hip with Jake Gold. And he had so much to say on so many topics. He had some great sort of almost sort of shade on Steve Paikin for his show, Alan Gregg's show on TVO.
It was absolutely shade on Steve Paikin.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because that would have been like the day before inauguration or the day after. I feel like he didn't get too much into American politics, but I mean, his stories about just, being right there with Brian Mulrooney and the pollster and like all that stuff.
And taking the fall for the commercial that made fun of Jean Chrétien's
and he owned it.
Childhood disease.
Yeah, won't do that again. So
and he, whether it was his fault or not, I'm taking the fall. He was the captain of the ship. He went down. Yeah. But I'll let you set it up, but I pulled a clip because there's a mind blow in this episode.
That's right. I think just play it.
Just play the damn thing. Here we go.
And we had a big problem with Day for Night, that they brought the record to me, and I just said, this isn't finished. You're going back into the studio. And they said, well, it's finished. And I said, no, it isn't. I said, you got 2 solid tracks here, and the rest is shit. Absolute shit. And they put Gordon.
Scared is pretty good, too, though.
That's about me. That is about me, word for word. You make me scared. Nice doing business with you.
Right.
It's a focus group.
Right.
It's about Alan.
That's about Alan
That's
Gregg.
about Alan Gregg.
My brains are on the walls here.
No, it is a biography.
Probably my favorite song on that album, actually.
And no, they wrote it because they were. Again, you have to understand. I mean, because I had a career, and I was very successful at my career, and loved them, and loved what I was doing for them. But what I could do for them was something they believed they should be doing for themselves.
That's even hearing it now, and I heard it at the time, mind blowing, because he's basically going off on an album which, after Fully Completely, was a disappointment commercially. It had a lack of singles. There's Grace 2 and Nautical Disaster. Those are the 2 songs he said, and those were the 2 songs they played on Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I owned all Hip albums back then, and I listened through, and I fell in love with Scared. I really like the song Scared. So I just brought it up as like a counterpoint, like, well, there's actually 3 great songs on this album. And then would he have dropped that fun fact if I don't interject with Scared was pretty good too?
What were his exact words again? They said there's something like I was bringing something that they thought they should do. Like that.
Because
I feel like
Jake
that's almost
was
the theme of another episode that we're going to talk about.
Okay, because Jake Gold was the guy who would get the money and make the deals, right?
Yeah.
And the Hip didn't want to do that.
And he was like fiercely protected. Like he was just like a bulldog.
He
to
once
this
took
day,
Humble Howard in the CFNY studio.
Dangled him over the bill.
Grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and told him to stop making fun of the fact that all the Hip songs sounded the same. Because Humble had a recurring bit where no matter...
I don't think I've heard this before.
Wow. I've heard it because, I capture these stories. But
Sure.
Humble and Fred played a lot of Hip on the CFNY morning show. And Howard had a recurring bit where he would act like he didn't know what song it was because all the Hip songs sound the same.
Right.
This was the Humble Howard bit. Jake Gold did not like that.
Raging
And he, in
Jake
person,
Gold.
grabbed him by the scruff of his collar and pinned him against a wall and told him to stop fucking doing that.
It's hilarious.
I got that story from Howard, and I confirmed it with Jake Gold.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There you go. And
some gangster shit.
That fact, right? It is like dangling. Was it Vanilla Ice? Who was
I
dangled?
think it was Vanilla Ice, yeah.
Suge Knight, right?
Suge Knight.
That's right.
Suge Knight, yeah. Well, that Alan Gregg, not to be confused with Alan Grego, who's the award-winning host of Yes, We Are Open.
Season 8, this poster.
Alan Gregg with 2 G's at the end was a great episode, and I think we talked afterwards in our little WhatsApp chat that done, boys. Pack it up.
That was it.
We've got our episode of the quarter.
Yeah.
It's over. I think I did the whole. It's over. It's
Vince
over.
Carter.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great episode, but there was more to come.
Whoa.
And we're only in January.
That's right.
So the very next episode was Greg fucking Keeler from Blue Rodeo.
Wow.
Which we talked about a little bit. It's a Zoom. You said you didn't think you'd get Greg in the basement, so this was your chance.
I agreed to a Zoom with Greg Keeler because I did not think Greg Keeler was going to visit the basement.
Yeah. And it was a great chat. Like obviously he's promoting the Blue Rodeo doc.
Right.
But you get some great stories from him about the early days.
He was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like a story rambling. Like I think he mentioned he worked in Lake Louise or in Whistler.
That's
or
right,
something.
yeah.
Planting trees or something?
Yeah.
Just like a moment in time, early 70s kid for sure.
That's when he bought his first guitar, I think he said.
Yeah.
He talked about losing a toe.
That's right.
Yeah, that was like...
Yeah.
I don't think that's in the doc. I know they talk in the doc about how he didn't think he'd play again. Like he was diagnosed with...
Carrie Von Erich shit here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jesus. So funny to have Alan Gregg and then Greg Keeler. Two wonderful back-to-back episodes.
Alan
we're still in
Greg
January.
Keeler.
Hey.
Whoa.
Did you
that
have that?
amazing?
Do you guys have that card, baseball card, the Steve Carlton and Carlton Fisk from like 1981?
No.
Because 81 I didn't collect any.
Okay, it was
Steve,
Steve and Carlton and Fisk.
I'm 83 when I
those
started
tops,
collecting.
those Don Ross.
Yeah. Anyway.
Must be O-Peachy.
I think that was 82 Fleer.
82 Flair.
Yeah.
Well, the last
Anyway.
Stu Stone. His
Yes.
dad used to
Love it.
own Sluggers.
Yeah. All right. 2 episodes after Greg Keeler comes Eric Schenkman.
Oh my
the
God.
Lead guitarist for the Spin Doctors.
Yeah.
The guy who
Huge.
wrote Two Princes?
Two Princes, Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
Wow.
He lives in Toronto.
And he's a well-spoken, cool cat.
Very cool cat.
Great episode.
Yeah, and told the whole Spin Doctor story, what he's been up to since. Like, Spin Doctor's still a very active band. They're putting out new music. Just fascinating guy, And,
great episode.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is an example. This happened, and probably just because you do so many episodes, this is bound to happen. But he talked a lot about his regular gigs at Grossman's Tavern.
Right.
And then recently, maybe we'll get this in the Ridley Funeral Home portion, but the longtime, was it the owner just died?
The owner.
Grossman.
Yes.
Yeah.
The owner just passed away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of people play at Grossman's Tavern on that Tuesday night with Eric Shankman, including a member of Blue Rodeo, who I've heard from since the Greg Keeler episode and said, hey, basically, can I visit your basement? Basically.
Yeah. Okay. Have you guys been there before?
I've never.
Yeah, I've been to Grossman's.
I haven't. No.
Yeah.
It was it Eric Alper's?
Eric Alper's grandfather is the guy Grossman.
Yeah. I feel like was it David Clayton or no Downchild Blues Band was like the resident. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of history there. A lot of history.
Yeah.
That was a great episode though.
And in a quieter quarter, we probably go deeper on that. One side conversation for a future FOTM cast is just talking about FOTMs who wrote or played on the biggest Billboard Hot 100 hits.
Yeah.
Well, there's one coming up.
Yes, there is.
Like you're like pointing at the computer. Like
I'm pointing at my list.
It's right there.
It's right there, gentlemen.
Those words. That word.
The day of Eric Shankman's visit was January 30th, and we lost an FOTM on that day. John Donaby, legendary Toronto radio voice, worked at all the big stations, Chum FM, CFRB, CKFH, Q107, passed away at age 78 after a long battle with cancer. He visited in episode 358, told some amazing stories from his career. I've pulled a little clip of that, but Mike, is there anything you wanted to say about
that
John?
He's an absolute sweetheart. So the episode was amazing. I remember talks about John Lennon and the band. And just his story is incredible, and he radio legend 50 years or whatever. And I just remember really liking this man. And then sadly, he was scheduled to return to kick out the jams, and I got the phone call. The phone call was, to paraphrase, the phone call was, Mike, I have bad news. I have cancer. I need to postpone my visit. And I literally pulled over from a bike ride to have this chat with him. And I'm like, well, John, of course, like, we'll do it when you're better. I'm so sorry to hear this. And we never did have that return visit. We lost John Donaby, but he was an absolute sweetheart and a great FOTM.
Yeah, glad you got him on the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was in the basement, so he's top tier, whatever we're going to name that. Right?
He's an officer,
top shelf.
All right,
he's an officer and a gentleman.
Totally.
I'll play a little bit of John telling a pretty cool story about someone we've already sort of talked about today.
PropertyInThe6.com. Hi, John. Brian Gerstein here, sales representative with PSR Brokerage and proud sponsor of Toronto Mic'd. And very excited tonight for Toronto Mic'd's listener experience, where there is a rack of ribs and a GLB ready with my name on it to enjoy while meeting everybody. 416-873-0292 is the number to call or text me for any of your real estate needs. John, while I'm impressed that you interviewed John Lennon twice, including the iconic Bet-In, I am more impressed that you were at The Last Waltz, the band's farewell concert, as Levon invited you. What was it like to be at the greatest concert film ever recorded by the brilliant Martin Scorsese?
Let's not bury the lead here. John, you were at The Last Waltz?
Yes, I was at The Last Waltz, and I wasn't only at The Last Waltz, I was there for the entire week leading up to it. And Levon Helm called me at my home. I was living in Vancouver then, working for CKLG-FM. And this was Levon.
One of the finest songs of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, Levon and I became really tight. I was very close with the band from the earliest days. He and Robbie, actually. And members of the band got to invite personal friends to The Last Waltz. So he called me in Vancouver, and he said, this is a great story. He says, listen, I want to invite you. Everything will be picked up when you get down here. The food will be great. This will be great. However, I can't pay your way here. Oh, okay. All right, I'll figure that out. So I have a wife and 2 really young children, and I'm going, what'll I do? I get a call from my boss, Roy Hennessy at CKLG-FM, who says, Frank Gigliotti from CBS is here, now Sony, He says, we want to meet with you. Okay, so I go down. He said, listen, Frank wants you, and so do I, to go to San Francisco to interview Boz Scaggs on his newest album, Lowdown. And I went, cool, when is it? About a day or two before American Thanksgiving. Oh, really? So that got me my free flight and back.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I went to all the rehearsals. I was allowed to go to all the rehearsals with the exception of Dylan. Dylan recorded in the basement of the Miyako Hotel. I would go down to Winterland and watch the rehearsals every day, and there's a lot of stories about the rehearsals, but I'll just say one thing about Van Morrison, who had a great performance in The Last Waltz, but his rehearsals were way better. And they performed songs that they didn't put into the film. And just meeting Bill Graham and going through everything and some great stories of what happened to me there, where Levon had to protect me at one point for one of the big bodyguards. And but I watched all the rehearsals, watched everybody go through it, and it was just a most extraordinary week of my life.
Excellent clip you pulled there. What a part of history there, and what a great guy. Yeah.
Where
Great
was
voice,
that?
too.
What was the venue that it was in? Not the Roseland, like one of those
the Winterland Theater?
Winterland Theater.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we lost a good one there. John Donaby just loved my chat with him, and I was looking forward to having another one, and we lost him too young. So
I actually had a couple of interactions with him quite early in my PR career, and I feel like his producer at the time was fellow FOTM Mark Wigmore.
Maybe
at 1010. This is like obviously later in his radio career. So
okay, maybe. Yeah, I mean, everybody I think who got to meet John Donaby had a positive experience, and while we're in the Ridley Funeral Home segment here, I just want to let the listenership know and pay my respects once more to Palma Petrucci, the matriarch of Palma Pasta, who passed away last week at the age of 96. So we lost, I guess, FOTM adjacent Palma Petrucci, namesake of Palma Pasta, and of course the only FOTM we lost, thankfully. Sorry we had to lose him, but John Donaby. So
that's right.
Let's remember these legends.
Totally,
indeed. I'm gonna crack another.
You crack another Great Lakes there. Okay. While you're cracking it, do you think maybe now is a good time for me to tell you about the newest sponsor of Toronto Mike?
I think it's a great time.
I think it's a fine time.
All right, you two gentlemen are you guys own automobiles, is that right? Sort of. Or you
my wife owns one.
Okay, well that counts.
I drive it.
Yes,
that counts. You drive. Come on, I know there's a car in the driveway, and you've been known to drive it. So you know when you wash your car and it feels like faster somehow.
Totally.
And like in a way that
more aerodynamic.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense, right?
Yeah.
And then when you finally wipe down those sticky coin pits to bring your cup holders back to life, like this. Cleaning your car is
gross, but sure.
Cleaning your car is only a hassle if you make it one.
Yeah,
and that's how they feel at Silver Wax.
Oh,
Silver Wax makes pro-grade auto care and cleaning technology easy for everyone to use. Find Silver Wax at, and this is important, all the listeners, take a note, silverwax.ca. Use the promo code TorontoMike10, so that's TorontoMike10 at checkout, and you'll save 10% off your next order. And you know what? I'm all in on this Team Canada thing.
Yeah.
Silver Wax has been proudly Canadian since 1999, and that's not about to change now.
Very cool.
So
good.
Support Silver Wax.
Where are they based? They're in Toronto?
They're in Quebec, actually.
Quebec. Oh.
Proud Canadian company. Shout out to Silver Wax. So, gentlemen, there's a lot going on here, and we're going to get back to the wrap here. But this is for the latest member of the FOTM Hall of Fame. I have a Silver Wax t-shirt. In fact, on the back, it tells you they're straight out of Quebec.
That's right.
There you go.
That t-shirt from Silver Wax is for you, VP.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Silver Wax.
It's a good color.
That's a beautiful shirt.
Yeah. Summer's coming up. You get
that's just it. You know, the grime, the salt, and everything. Yeah. Here's an interior protection and the ceramic Lotus effect, which will. Yeah, you know what I'm telling you.
It's like a
I've got the instructions. Your car will thank you, and you each get.
Thank you, Mike.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Silver Wax. That's a good logo too. It is.
Yeah,
it's like a crypto thing.
You had me at fiercely Canadian here, so again, Silverwax.ca. Use the promo code Toronto Mike.
And congrats on the new sponsor, Mike.
Yes,
That's
very
great.
exciting.
Awesome.
Welcome aboard, Silverwax. All right, where are we in the Wrapped?
In the next batch of episodes, you've got some great ones. You've got Jeremy Hotz in his basement debut.
Yeah, so he would be elevated. That would be a moment when
up.
Hotz is elevated to the top tier of FOTM.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm going to confess I didn't hear that episode, but what did he say about the newsroom? This is like the Ken Finkelman newsroom, not the other one?
Correct.
There's two different shows with the same name.
Yeah,
The Ken Finkelman newsroom is the Jeremy Hotz.
What was the TLDR that he
here's
shared
the
about
big,
that?
the amazing fact he shares.
Yeah.
So they have short seasons. These things were short, like 6 episodes or something.
Wow.
He was a standout critical success in the first season, which was a commercial success as well. So CBC has this hit.
Yeah.
Hotz is recognized. They don't make him an offer to come back for season 2. Like he's like, what the heck? Hotz goes to California to make Speed 2 because he wasn't getting an offer to come back for season 2 of the newsroom, despite the fact we have a commercial and critical hit on our hands. If that, I'm fiercely Canadian, but that's a quintessential Canadian story.
Yeah.
Like to me, the mind blow that like he almost like it was a last second decision to bring back Jeremy Hotz to do season 2.
I was going to say, and I feel like Speed 2 was, I'm sure, still made money, but a bit of a bomb. They were like on a
lot of a bomb.
boat. I guess that's a pun intended because it was like there was a bomb on the boat. Was that the
I
bus?
didn't see it
I did
because
not see it,
when Keanu Reeves decided he wasn't going to come back, I decided I was going to be with Keanu on that decision.
Who was
Jason Patrick. Was
Jason
in
Patrick?
Speed
Right.
2.
From Lost
Who's
Boys.
the brother of Filters guy, right?
No, you're thinking of
Who am I thinking of?
Robert Patrick from
these are
Terminator 2.
Lost End.
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
You're 100%
Yeah.
right. And he's on X-Files too, right? He took over
Yes.
for Duchovny or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the brother of Hey Man, Nice Shots.
That's right.
I have a mildly interesting story about Speed 1.
Please.
I saw it with my dad at the theater that used to be at Mel Lessman Square. I think it was called Madison. And you remember it's the bus, there's helicopters, the bus is out of control, blah, blah, blah.
The bus that wouldn't slow down.
Yeah, so we watch it. I'm like, yeah, that was a cool movie. We come home. What should be on the TV that day? The O.J. Simpson thing.
Oh, wow.
They're on the Al Cowlings. He's suicidal.
Oh, my
It's like life imitates art.
You know who this is.
Yeah. Very
Wow.
vivid memories. A great night.
Wow.
Great night. A lot
Yeah.
of entertainment.
Yeah. Big day. That was the big David Hasselhoff pay-per-view.
Well, that got a
was
30 for 30.
It did. Yeah.
Huge. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Where they did all
There was
the
an
smash
NBA
cuts
playoff
between-
game. There
Yeah.
was some golf, Grand Slam event or whatever.
First Rusty album came out then.
First,
No,
That's
just
right.
kidding.
Yeah.
Fluke. Seriously. And they had the big
I
song
wish.
California.
I wish.
Of course. Jeez, there's a lot going on here. Okay, where are we now?
So after
What a
Hots,
quarter.
Yeah,
Can I just say that?
It just keeps coming, right?
Pat myself on the back here.
Right
Mike,
after
you did
Hots
great.
is, we talked about him earlier, Manfred from Elephants and Stars, which
Right.
led to one of the later big episodes of the quarter.
So
that
we'll
get
tease
to.
it by saying
Yeah.
Manfred kicked out Jams, and a jam he kicked out was by a side project by a member of Sloan. We'll pick
Yes.
that up later.
That's right.
Okay. Then another new sponsor. So I just unveiled a new sponsor, Silverwax. I'm sure right now FOTMs are picking up their Silverwax at silverwax.ca with the promo code TorontoMike10. They're doing that right now. But earlier this past quarter, Nick Iones put up his hand. I literally dropped an episode in the Toronto Mike feed and said, I need a new partner. Somebody's got to step up because there's a lot of real talk coming out on this show. Someone's got to fuel this real talk. And Nick put up his hand and said, I want to fuel the real talk. So bless Nick Iones. He got his own episode as part of the deal. And if you step up to partner with Toronto Mike, you also get your episode. So thank you, Nick, for that. Okay.
Good deal.
Attaboy, Nick.
Attaboy, Nick. Okay. And then Sir Jerry Levitan dropped by.
Sir Jerry
again.
Levitan, a return visit. The boy who interviewed John Lennon.
Right, of course.
Great, fascinating, great addition to the TMU.
Yeah. He comes to events.
And then another comedian, John Wing.
And that's where we dive very deep. He does the Ralph Ben-Murgy set of the early 80s. And literally on
Oh, wow.
Friday in my calendar is a double date with Ralph Ben-Murgy and his wife.
Okay. Very
You guys
nice.
wanna come?
You're
You guys
going
wanna
for
join me?
Italian food, are you not?
It is Italian
Okay.
food. Yeah. Do you guys want to join me?
Yeah, I'd love to.
That's okay. I'm good.
Then
Did
there's
you just say no?
Cam is a no. on that.
I have
an
plans.
asshole.
I have plans.
Cam tapped out.
Thank you, though.
John Wing was great.
He was. He
Talked
was.
about going blind.
That's right. Then there's just a run of really, really solid episodes. You've got Joel Greenberg. You've got Scott Dobson, John Rowlands was really fascinating. Photographer, music photographer who talked about his career. That he was a Zoom as well, but
the man who wrote the book, Nick
Bob Klanek.
Right, it's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Promo Man. Bob was in the studio,
Yes.
and then John Rowlands was on the Zoom, and he took that iconic photo of David Bowie with the arrow. Do you know this?
David Bowie with the arrow.
Yeah.
No.
Am I describing it right, Tyler? I can see it in my
I
mind.
probably know
Yeah.
it to see it.
Yeah.
If you saw it, you'd be like, "Oh wow!" And he took that photo.
Yeah.
It's like
He's
pornography. Know it to see it.
And then you've got speaking of people who debuted on Zoom and then came to the basement, you've got Marcy Ian.
I know this. Okay.
So former media personality, current and soon to be former Liberal MP, who gave up her seat so that Evan Solomon could run.
Although we didn't know it at the time.
We did not know it at the time. So you covered a lot of ground with Marcy, and you got a bit of detail from her on a past relationship, if you want to.
Okay, so I only took out 10 seconds because of this. We talk a lot about Maestro Fresh West. And then there's a 10-second clip here I'm going to play, unedited. This 10 seconds is how it unfolded, and then we'll talk about it. Here we go. So how well did you know the Maestro?
Very well. We were very, very good friends. What are you asking, Mike?
Okay, so
coy.
So she's sitting where the
Very
handsome
coy.
Cam Gordon is right now, and I'm here where I always am. And I said, "How well did you know Maestro?" She says, "Very well," and you can hear that in the voice, right? And then I just sort of look at her for a moment, and then I start smiling, and then she breaks down because
honorable one.
She knows that I know, and I'm not going to out her. I'm going to have her out herself.
You
and
know
I just,
what?
That there was a long-term romantic relationship between Marcy Ian and Maestro Fresh West. Did you know this, Cam Gordon?
Not until I heard the episode.
Really? Okay, so I didn't think it was fair to the Honorable Marcy Ian for me to just say that. Like, first of all, they were both, this is nothing, you're allowed to date people, right, Tyler?
Absolutely.
Still allowed?
Sure it is.
So they had a romantic relationship. And I know about it, and she knows I know about it. So it was like a face-off, like who's going to break first. And we just both break into laughter. It was just a fantastic moment.
And then you clipped it, you put on YouTube so more people could see it. They're just dating.
Happened, Cam.
Hey.
It happened. So
right here in the basement.
Let me ask you guys.
The real talk.
You know, they always
Loved
say,
it.
like, who knew what when, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have Marcy over as a member of cabinet. She's an MP. And we're talking, I go, are you ready? Because when you do have your new prime minister, your new leader announced, and of course we all knew it would be Mark Carney, but it became official. He was going to call an election. And we're now in that cycle, and we'll have an election on April 28. And I asked her, like, are you ready? She's like, we're ready, Mike, we're ready. And then it came out weeks later that she was not running again. And then there's speculation, like, oh, is that going to be the riding? Because, you know, who doesn't have a seat right now is Mark Carney himself. Like, he needs a seat. And there was some talk about who's going to be running in that spot. And it turns out it's Evan Solomon.
What a swerve. I mean,
So another media person.
Yeah.
But,
Shift
you know,
magazine.
it is interesting. Who knew what when? Like, did Marcy know when she's talking to me that she wasn't going to run? And she was just holding those cards?
Oh, probably never really.
'Cause
No.
She faked me out. Like, I believed she was going to run again. And then we find out weeks later she's not. So I don't know who knew what when.
I mean, it's crazy. So there's all that super interesting. And then it's, dated Maestro, was on Circle Square, hosted Can-Am.
Right. Exactly. That's why I like
Quite
Marcy.
the
as a
resume.
guest.
Yeah,
That's why I
she's
like her.
cool. I like
Because you
her
can do the
too.
whole media thing and then there's the politics thing. And she's in the basement, right? We need a name for this, but that's top tier.
Absolutely.
Yes. And she asked you to come on, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Her people said, would you have Marcy on? And I said, only if she visits the basement.
So-
and they were like, okay, Marcy will visit your basement.
So that's interesting.
her.
So why, if they knew
They
she wasn't
initiated.
running,
They initiated.
right? Why would they ask for her to go on if they knew she wasn't going to run?
Great question, Tyler. That's why I'm wondering.
Nothing is by accident.
And at
in
some point,
politics,
Marcy will
so
be
we know.
back on Toronto Mike. And that's my first question. Like,
Yeah.
when you were in my basement, did you know you weren't running? So I would say it might be true that she thought she'd be running when she was in the basement. And there was a decision made that we'll run Evan Solomon in this spot. And maybe, I don't know what's next. Is she going to be like a member of the Senate or something? I don't know how this works in politics, but you know, maybe we need Cam's wife to look into this. Who knows who knew what when?
Probe on that. I'll just say I'm looking forward to it'll probably be, she's a young woman, so it'll be like years in the future when she's at the out of fucks to give stage.
Oh, yeah.
She probably have all sorts of stuff
Oh,
on all these topics, on Maestro, on what's it like working with Bell, Circle Square, the Circle Square Ranch, the puppets, all the shit.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. So excited.
So Marcy Ann was great.
Yeah.
In the basement.
Absolutely.
She's cool. I like her.
Couple episodes after Marcy.
Yeah. So shout out to J-Ho, who was like the
J-Ho,
and then
always
we had
solid.
the okay. So I will say this, since we spill all the dirt on these FOTM casts.
Yep.
2 people were in the calendar,
yes.
and then not a serious punishment. Like I'm not out to hurt anybody, but I want to just say that Karen Bliss was in the calendar, and I was very excited. Did my homework. Then she said there was going to be a snowstorm, and she was worried. I think she was worried about getting her car out of the snow, and I respect that, man. So we rescheduled it. And then she said, she kind of blew me off because she said she had the opportunity to Zoom with some musician, and she was writing about this musician. So a couple of times in the calendar, she never came over. So I just stopped chasing her. Like Karen, if she wants on the show, she'll write me and say, hey, can we pick a new date and time? Like I would still like to talk to Karen Bliss, but I'm at that out of fucks to give stage where I'm not chasing Karen Bliss. I got her in twice. And there's another guy I just want to shout out named Socrates, who's a rapper I madly respect, who got in the calendar 3 times. One time he screwed up and he phoned me and he was apologetic. The second time he said he had to go to town. He's so sorry, but he wants to do this. And then the third time he's like, man, I'm sorry, I got to go out of town again. And then I stopped chasing Socrates. Like if Socrates wants to come on, he knows how to reach me. But there was another woman in the calendar who just didn't show up. She was locked and loaded, and I did my homework, and she didn't show up. And I wanted to talk about the Canada versus U.S. final at the Four Nations Cup. And I wanted to talk about FOTM Chantal Kreviazuk and her modification to the Canadian national anthem. I had stuff I wanted to say. I literally put out the bat signal, and in Mimico, FOTM Hall of Famer, that's how I can now refer to you,
right.
Tyler Campbell, the VP of Sales, ran over. He ran over, and then I had a few people on Zoom, including Elvis and many others, like Rob Del Mundo, and we talked about it. Yeah. Gare Joyce was on there. Hey Ref was on there.
Yeah.
Am I missing anybody?
So that was the next day you did that episode? Or
we did it the next day. Yeah. It was the next day.
Well, still fresh.
Oh, and Canada Kev was on there.
Kev was on there. So the game was like Thursday night, and then that recording was Friday because this woman basically bailed on me, and then she said, "Oh, I'm not going to name her in this moment here, but she wrote me a note.
Whisper.
I'm like, where are you? Like, I'm all set and locked and loaded. And she initiated this episode, by the way. I should point that out too. But I'm ready, and she's not there. She's not here. And then she said, "Oh, I told you I had a conflict and I wasn't coming, and I thought you were just mad about it, so you didn't reply." And I just said, "Well, I never got this email." And then later she wrote me to say, "Oh, I thought I emailed you, but I didn't."
Oh my God.
It's in my drafts.
It's in my fucking drafts. But I just want to say I enjoyed the episode that we kind of invented on the spot.
That was fun.
I enjoyed it. Okay.
I remember there was an aborted, unauthorized TMLX light event that was going to be at
that's right,
the Imperial Room that we bumped.
You were the quarterback on this one.
Yeah, well, I think it was me and with the healthy assist from Robert Lawson. I feel like we were going to hang out, and then we just
and then I nicely told you that if Canada makes the Four Nations finals, it's the same night, and I said, I'm going to be here watching it with my 10-year-old. Just so you know, I won't be there.
Yeah, I would have gone either way. So like, I'm glad it didn't happen because I ended up watching the game and had a good time.
Yeah,
what a game!
What a game!
Awesome,
what
awesome
a
moment.
Game. What a moment!
Loved it.
Shout out to Chantal Kreviazuk. Okay,
Indeed.
But then there was a big weekend a rare weekend recording, a big return.
The big return of Mike Stafford.
Oh my
wow.
God! Oh my God!
That should be the episode of the quarter.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, always great to hear from Mike. I know you care about him very deeply. His struggles continue. Sounds like he's at least in a somewhat stable situation with his sister. Yeah. But great to hear from him.
Yeah.
And he's, I know a lot of people are encouraging him to do a podcast.
And I've actually, and I was clear on that episode, and I've reiterated it with Mike, which is that if Mike wants to do it, I'll be Mr. Pro Bono here and get him started. I did the same thing for Peter Gross. I did episodes for free until he could monetize it or whatever.
Yeah.
I would do it for Stafford too. So the ball's in Stafford's court. So a lot of people are like, is it happening? I'm like, it's got to come from Stafford. Like it's almost like my brother smoked for decades and he's right now trying to quit. smoking cigarettes. And it was, my mom has been telling him to quit for decades. Of course, it doesn't work like that. Like my brother had to have a moment where he's like, I'm going to quit smoking for himself. This is where, and Stafford's got to have that moment where he decides, I'm going to try this podcast thing. But I love it when he visits, and it was a great visit, and it's good to catch up with him.
I think it's good. I'm sure it's probably not easy to come on and talk about this stuff too, but I sort of, shit happens, and this, who knows, like stuff can happen to any of us, and like who knows where life will take us. So I applaud him for coming in, just being so real about his situation.
Absolutely.
I thought it was interesting that the very next episode was about the proposed shelter in this neighborhood, because Mike Stafford's a good example where if Mike Stafford doesn't have a sister willing to take him in, he's in the system. Yeah. He's in the very system where we need beds and we need programs and stuff that are being proposed for this neighborhood. So I had Bruce Davis on to talk about that. And I wonder how many people out there don't have family to give them a home and a bed and take care of them. There's a lot of people who don't have that blessing, that luxury.
Yeah, definitely.
And we need to be compassionate for those people in our society.
It's like hard out there. Like I feel like every quarter that goes by, it gets worse too. Like I took the subway here, and just like every time I go on, I feel like there's more folks like sleeping or got all their worldly possessions.
You're right. That's where you're right. Yeah. And there's like a rain warning for tomorrow, and some of these people are living in tents and parks and stuff. And if we had more shelter space, we could house these people and help them transition to being self-sufficient.
Tomorrow's like also Liberation Day, so like what the fuck's gonna happen? What state are any of us?
Don't get me down that path. We don't have time for that. Okay, but then there was a gentleman who dropped by. I feel like I'm stealing Tyler's thunder here, but you're good. But we talked about people who appear on big selling songs and albums and stuff. We talked about Shankman, who's on Two Princes. Do we remember where that went in the Billboard Hot 100? Because it never went to number 1.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's hit number 7.
Okay, so that's like one of those songs that's everywhere, but it was a top 10 song.
Yeah.
And this song didn't go top 10, but there was a song on Thriller called "The Girl Is Mine" with a guy named Paul McCartney or something. I don't know what band he was in, but
the cute one.
Michael Jackson and this guy Paul whatever, and Amin Batia, Thin Tortilla. Amin Batia came by, and I thought he was lovely, and I thought it was fascinating, and it was unbeknownst to me when I booked him that his handler, his personal assistant, is the aforementioned Arlene, ex-wife of Blair Packham.
Crazy.
Isn't that mind-blowing?
Yeah, it really is. Amin was great. Like he obviously there's sort of the whole Thriller thing, but he was a CFNY guy,
big CFNY imaging guy,
and you had he I guess gave you a bunch of promos and things
IDs.
IDs that were from that era of
a lot of Humble and Fred stuff.
Yeah, which was really fascinating to hear.
And he's a lovely man and very talented.
Yeah, and you the Thriller thing you covered in pretty great detail with Stu. I was going to pull a clip, but then like you can just go back and listen to Stu.
Right.
And the also aforementioned Rob Pruce contributed a little breakdown of.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. So yeah. Really fun episode.
Great episode. And then Unsung Hero, nobody will remember he was over this past quarter because of the big names, but I loved my David Aaron chat. There was a backdoor pilot, if you will, because Avi Federgreen, who I went to his movie premiere at Canada Film Fest.
Yeah.
His movie Home Free was wonderful. It was an excellent movie. I can't believe I know this guy who directed it, Avi Federgreen, but he's got a podcast, and Marvin Kaye came on. Marvin Kaye made the show Less Than Kind. And Jesse Camacho's been on before, and Maury Chaikin, shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. But I slipped that in the feed. And then there was a very interesting visit from the Radical Reverend.
Sherry DeNovo.
Yeah. And it was a very interesting conversation with Sherry DeNovo.
Yeah, former NDP, I guess she was an MPP?
MPP.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Parkdale High Park.
Right.
When Peggy Nash was the MP.
Yes.
And that's the period where I actually lived in that riding. And she was very interesting to talk to.
Yeah.
So I'm like literally downloading that it just reminded me, this is one of those episodes I didn't actually ever listen to. And
because you were busy listening to the next episode, was the return of Steve Kersner, a.k.a. Ed the Sock.
I did listen to that one.
That was good.
I did listen to that one.
Yeah.
I think that was his best appearance.
It was. It was really interesting to me to hear about his sort of current situation. He's on the radio at the Rock?
The Rock 94.9.
And he's doing the overnight show, like probably the only live
he's
overnight
Chuck the
radio.
Security guard.
Yeah, in the city. And it was interesting to hear him talk about the community that he's building with his audience. And
did it sound familiar?
I was going to say, it was very reminiscent of the Toronto Mike universe.
So good for him. He's one of those guys who's just kind of, he's been there for forever. Like he's been a part of the Toronto media landscape for decades. And he's still doing it. Like he still loves it, and obviously he's not doing it for the cash. He's
still hustling.
Like he's had the fucking sock in his hand for like 35 years. Like it's incredible. Like I like it's great. And he seems very like at peace too. I actually I think I mentioned this to you, Mike, because I feel like every time he's over, you mention Overtime Sports Talk with Cam Gordon Stone. He never remembers.
Yeah, he has no memory of you.
But as you know, I have some clips from the show, so I actually DM'd him a few stills. He's like, okay, I don't know. He's probably just like putting us on, but he sent me like a really nice note. It's like, oh, these are very cool. It's so cool to see that. Thanks for sharing. So yeah. Seems like he's in a good place.
I know not everybody loves the sock and Steve Kersner, but I love the episode. I love his visits. I love our chats. Andy on the live stream says, I really liked that Steve Kersner Ed episode more than I expected. So I think a lot of people might get their backs up. Okay, what's this guy doing? But we just had a real genuine chat, and it was great.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, this is a side.
So is mine. You please.
Okay, I was just gonna say
I'll be the tiebreaker.
There's apparently there's like a new version of Hollywood Squares that's out, and I just caught like a minute of it because it was right.
Is Drew Barrymore on this?
Yes, Drew Barrymore's on. Yeah, it was right after Jeopardy because we PVR Jeopardy.
She was married to Tom Green, you know.
Yeah, but one of the squares was actually the dog, the Triumph. Yeah, he was like one of the squares with that guy's still doing that too.
And that is, I will say, if you want greatest hits, every time Steve's over, I find a way to work the dog into it.
Absolutely.
He's certain that dog was stolen from his idea that he was pitching to Conan.
I mean, I would say puppet chomping on a cigar with like kind of the same gravelly.
Roasting the people. It's very close.
Yeah, but the dog does it with sort of a quasi Hispanic accent.
Right. No, you're 100% right.
So.
You know, I saw the Conan O'Brien show recorded live at the Winter Garden Theater when Triumph went and did the stuff that with the Quebecers. So
like a tag team like Jacques and Pierre, WWF, managed by Johnny Polo
brothers. Yeah,
I feel like Scott Thompson did like a walk around with Conan and like one of those episodes. I feel like he did 4 episodes.
I actually pulled. So we'll save it, but I'll just say now that I did pull a clip of him. You know, in the year 2000, right? So you know this. See, Cam didn't watch. He's shaking his head. No. Okay,
nothing on that at all.
2000. Wow. Okay, I loved it.
Was that Kids in the Hall or what?
No, it was Conan O'Brien. Okay, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. It was a recurring segment. In the year 2000, where they would, it would be a bit after that. So, but one of the members of the Max Weinberg 7 would sing like this: "In the year 2000,
La Bamba.
In the year 2000, President Trump," and then everybody will laugh.
Yeah. Okay, well, I did see that part.
Okay, well, anyways, Scott Thompson did one of those. Okay, it's a long way away. But we'll get to Scott. We'll get to Scott.
FOTM Scott.
We have 90 minutes on Scott Thompson coming up here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Cleve Anderson.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's talk about it.
Please. So the original drummer for Blue Rodeo, and he was in the basement with current Blue Rodeo keyboardist Mike Boguski, return guest, and Nickel Robertson.
Yes.
And they
soft-spoken man.
They have a band called West of Jane. So they came in and played a tune, which was great. Cleve had some really. He's a funny character. If you go to the Horseshoe, if you see a show at the Horseshoe, you'll probably see Cleve. He's like just a little guy.
He didn't hit his head here.
No.
Very likable.
He's like
man.
Peter Gross, fun-sized kind of guy.
Very likable chap.
Yeah. But he had some great stories about his early days. He's been in the Toronto music scene for decades. And I did pull a clip of Cleve, so I'll play that now.
So Cleve, you're one to be in a punk. You're in a punk band here. But at some point, as we know, if you know the history of punk, the punk scene fades out in the early 80s. Where do you pivot to at that point?
Well, I had, the Battered Wives came along, and I got a chance to be in it and everything. And I said, they're happening. This could be. And so we opened for Elvis Costello cross Canada tour, all
that's
big
amazing.
soft seater, and that's when I quit at the end of the thing. But that's where Jim and Greg first saw me. They loved Elvis Costello. They saw the show at the the O'Keefe Center with the women's groups protesting.
So they saw you and they said, "This guy's a good drummer." I thought maybe it was the
they
Sharks.
saw me from that. Yeah, they saw the Sharks were after.
Okay.
Yeah, don't rush me. I'm trying to.
No. No. Okay.
I can't wait till I'm 74. You can be as ornery as you want, buddy. You've earned the right.
I actually love ornery. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you can ornery it up a little bit.
Okay. If you guys
amp that up,
just,
buddy.
Yeah.
Have another sip of the Canuck here. Okay. So
All
let me
right.
just set the
and
table
if you
here.
guys just take this, keep in mind to shut the fuck up once in a while.
Well, I just want to jump in and say that there is an attractions thing I wanted to pick up on because you mentioned that the Battered Wives had opened for the attractions.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's pretty big time because I'm a huge attractions fan. I was at his house one day and he's like, oh, check this out. And he sent this picture of him and Steve Naive, their arms around each other. I think you were at a pool hall or something. And Elvis, I don't know if he was in the photo, but Bruce Thomas was, I think.
Yeah.
And so I like, hey man, can I take a photo of that? And he's like, no problem. Then I sent the photo to Steve Naive, and he's like, oh, I remember Cleve, say hi. And then I gave him my solo album, and he wrote a great thing. He said it was a wonderful sonic journey. So now every time I do my solo album, I'm like, Steve Naive, the Attractions, says this was a wonderful sonic journey. But I wouldn't have been able to have that connection to Steve if it wasn't for taking that photo in Cleve's
Amazing.
house.
So Cleve, but at this point, because I last saw you at, we talked about it before we press record here, but the Red Room at the Masonic Temple, you were there to see the Gary Top panel for the new Gary Top book.
Yeah.
So you were booked. I'm assuming the Garys booked you at some point in this period.
Battered Wives, we were off their radar because we were signed. We were signed actually for a punk rock group. We got signed by the agency, which is the big, did Max Webster and all that. I didn't even want to sign with it, but the other guys did. But so we were playing all these more rock bars and stuff like that. So we got out of sync a little bit, but Gary, my next group after Battered Wives when I left, I remember I went to the last Pogo. I had just quit the band, and the word was out on the street that, the drummer in Blue Rodeos has quit, and I was there, and I knew
the
pretty much everyone.
The drummer in the Battered Wives.
No, Battered Wives, yeah.
By the way, terrible name for a band. I just want to throw it out there, the Battered Wives.
It kind of offends me, Cleve.
Yes, yes, fair enough.
But it was punk,
fair
right?
Enough,
it's punk.
But it was, it was topical. We weren't calling ourselves wife beaters. I never thought it was like trivializing. That's
time.
what they hung. It trivializes the issue. But we do
abort.
Okay, abort.
No, I'm not beating you up over it. I'm not beating you up over it. But you wouldn't name a band. West
we
of Jane
offered
is a
a
better
forum
name.
for discussion about an important issue. Nobody thought it was like,
Okay, so word is on the street, Mr.
Yeah.
Anderson,
Yeah.
Anderson, that there's word on the street that the drummer from Battered Wives is a free agent. Like he's available.
Yes. And I got some offers at the last post. Do you know what the last post?
Colin Brunton. I'm going to pull out the DVD, which is right here.
Yeah, I noticed Colin did a show for everybody.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Mike is well versed in the punk world.
Is
Didn't
this-
you have Art
Colin
Bergman on
Brunton-
the week before I was on last
Yes, I
time?
did. He's been in the basement since then. But Colin Brunton, who was on the Gary Top panel, he's been down here. We talked at great lengths about the last Pogo.
And there's a Jumps Again thing, too, right?
Hold on here.
And
Mr. Cleve, I need to prove I've got my. I need to prove I have my bona fides over here.
Sealed. Yeah, you got. So far, so good there, Mike.
Love this guy. West of Jane. Don't ever lose this guy, Cleve Anderson. Fucking love that guy.
There you go. I've seen that guy so many times at so many concerts, and he's quite short, and I'm quite tall, so
He's
it's
got
easy to miss him.
interesting hair.
Yeah, a real
can't miss
character.
him.
You won't miss.
But I will say, in the moment when he was asking if I had ever heard of the last Pogo, I was offended.
That was like Molly Johnson.
Yeah, it's in the
fucking
liner notes. I should have slapped that.
My
one.
brother created The Wire.
That's a great clip you pulled there too. My brother wasn't in The Wire. He created
The Wire.
Oh,
Talk to Randy Bachman.
Yeah, have you ever heard of The Last Pogo, Mike?
Jeez, I'm whipping out DVDs here when
There is
when he's going at me.
just before we stop talking about Cleve, there is like this super group that I've always been meaning to see play because they play at Noonan's in the East End.
Yeah, I know Noonan's.
Get a load of this band. So it's 3 FOTMs. So you got Cleve Anderson on drums. You've got Fergus Hambleton,
Of course.
from the Satellites on guitar and vocals, and also on vocals you got Andy fucking Mays.
Wow. Who's in? Okay, so who's
Yeah.
in the Blue Rodeo documentary?
Okay,
Which I just watched, and there's a interesting observation from yours truly, which is they don't say the name Mike Boguski in this documentary.
Really?
What?
Like if I'm telling you,
How?
I got to review it because at the end you see them playing Lost together, and you can see that Boguski's part of the band doing it or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's not a moment in this doc because I'm really taking notes of FOTMs who are mentioned. Cleve is showing. He's talked about at the beginning.
Sure.
They talk about him leaving to take a job at the post office. Shout out to his wife, FOTM Ingrid Schumacher. But there is zero reference to Mike Boguski in this doc. And I was thinking, oh, it must suck to watch the doc about your band and they don't mention you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you get to it, because you'll see
Yeah, I
it,
haven't
Lost
seen it
Together, I think it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you'd think there'd be a throwaway line at the end where they say something like, and then we added this great keyboardist,
Right.
and it was
Yeah.
it was a
Is there
great.
a lot of Wiseman stuff?
Lots of Wiseman,
Yeah.
lots
really?
of Bobby Wiseman.
Oh, he's in it.
Big
Yeah.
time. He's
Oh,
in it.
interesting.
Yeah, he's got like a
Interesting.
mustache and everything.
Is it good?
Huh.
Is it worth seeing?
I like that
Like, did you
story.
learn
but don't,
stuff, or-
No, I didn't learn a lot because I've had all these guys for deep
Yeah.
dives.
Well, I was just
but-
going to say, like, now you've had Greg, you've had
Greg,
Jim, you've had Cleve,
Yeah.
You've had Boguski,
Yeah,
you've
I had
got
Wiseman.
you've had Wiseman, you have Glenn Milcham coming.
Coming up, Glenn Milcham.
So
I have
Basil,
Basil
Basil.
Donovan and Colin Cripps are a couple of guys I should seek out
Colin
and
Cripps,
get.
yeah.
And then the myriad lap steel players, and of course
No,
the late James Gray.
Colin Cripps was married to Michelle McAdory.
No,
they were in Crash Vegas together.
no.
But
Oh, they were in Crash Vegas.
It was
Okay.
Greg Keeler who was dating Michelle McAdory,
Gotcha,
and that's how
okay.
she got in the video for Try.
Lawson, yeah.
And all the credit for Try breaking they're given to John Martin at Much Music.
That's
you know
right.
this, right? Like
But-
radio said no, and then Martin liked it, and he put it on Much.
Yeah.
And that blew up Blue Rodeo.
Am I imagining like she's under the Gardner expressly, like kind of wandering around, almost like the
Michelle McAdory?
Yeah, like in that video, like she's sort of wandering aimlessly. I'm just thinking, is she near where we do Bentway beers?
I'll
have to go back.
I'm trying to remember.
I feel like she's on a bridge or
Okay.
something.
I loved my conversation with Michelle McAdory.
Anyway, that super group is called Birds, and they only play covers by the Birds.
There's one more FOTM
That's
in
amazing.
that
Who?
group, Tim Bovacanti.
Oh, Tim Bovacanti. Oh my God.
Tim Bovacanti was sent here.
80% FOTM.
Yeah.
James B
That's incredible.
phones me up and says you should talk to Tim Bovacanti.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do a little. Oh, am I mixing up my guys? Is he? This is Tim Bovacanti.
He's Burton Cummings.
Okay, wrong guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Wrong guy.
Got TB.
Who's the? There's a band leader guy. We saw him at Massey Hall.
Guy Lombardo.
leading that band. Okay, remember at Massey Hall?
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
I thought that was Tim Bovacanti. That's another guy.
What the hell's that guy's
Okay,
name?
but that's the guy
Yeah.
James B sent over. Okay, there's been
Yeah.
a lot of FOTMs, everybody.
So
Okay,
many FOTMs.
so then Zoomer Radio's Andy Wilson comes over.
Yeah.
And it was lovely to talk to Andy Wilson from Zoomer Radio. He loves Kid Rock. But then Antonia Zerbaisius.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
Out of fucks.
Yeah. Another candidate for episode of the quarter.
Any
is
other quarter,
Antonia.
and that's all we're talking
Absolutely.
about is Antonia
Top three up
Zerbaisius.
in any other quarter.
You're 100%
What
right.
a lady.
Yeah. So many candid thoughts. Her time in Montreal, her time at the Toronto Star. She talked about Trump. She talked about the Middle East.
Being childless. and
Childless,
choosing to
yeah.
be childless, which no one talks about
That's
it.
right.
We need more people talking about I chose not to have children.
Yeah. Yeah. She was just fantastic. Like, just a great, very open, honest, just a dream guest.
Some Mark
honestly.
Weisblad gossip in there.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of Mark
Early
Weisblad
days of
talk in the
blogging,
early
yeah.
blogging days. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got a clip from Antonia, who I think when she came on, I was saying, is it Antonia?
Yeah.
And she was going to punch me in the nose.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
Antonia.
Yeah.
What did she dispute from Wikipedia? It's on the little description. I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember. I did not pull a clip
Yeah.
from Antonia. I was
Okay.
going
Oh, you
to.
didn't pull a clip.
I
'cause It
didn't.
says here, clip 7, Antonia. Oh, Tyler to play. It says right
reload
here.
that. Reload that.
Oh, I can't reload it. It's supposed to be real time. It's Ajax or something. Okay, fine. So Antonia was great, and then Bruce Dobigan come over, and basically he comes over because I need to talk to people on the other side of the political spectrum. I need to know what Alberta is thinking about everything, and I got my dosage from Bruce.
For sure.
I think Cam earlier said, I'm not afraid to talk to people I don't agree with.
Yeah.
And that's, Bruce is a great
And
example.
he's an interesting guest. He's very conservative, but you're able to have that sort of civil dialogue with him, even though he made excuses for Elon's Nazi salute.
He made a lot of, and he said, he gave me pictures later of like other people waving hi to people.
Right.
It's like, they're doing a Nazi salute.
Yeah. Get the fuck out
And
of
I
here.
said what I would say
Did
to
the
everybody
the
who tells
stress
me,
test, yeah.
everyone who says to me that wasn't a Nazi salute, I say the same thing. Take video of yourself doing exactly what Elon Musk did and send it to me. Nobody's done it yet.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not on Twitter. Okay.
Anyway,
but then that was episode 1640.
Yeah,
Although
okay.
the thing that Bruce said that upset me the most was he said he would be open to discussions about us taking on American money. I'm going to say this clearly to you two gentlemen right now. You're both in the FOTM
Please
Hall
do.
of Fame.
Yeah.
If we take on American money, we are giving up our sovereignty.
Yeah.
This is third rail shit to me, and I'm not interested in the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely more than just an economic decision. Yes, the Canadian dollar is kind of shit right now, but that's not a reason to do it.
Yeah, agreed.
But then came the big one.
This, probably the ep of the quarter. I know it might be top 5, top 3 all time for you, maybe higher.
Wow.
Scott Thompson.
Wow.
From Kids in the Hall. I mean, what can you say? Like,
what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, we'll say some things.
That I will say that Kids in the Hall, very important to me.
Absolutely.
Shaping my sense of
Yes.
humor. Appointment viewing. I loved Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, just like such a foundation. Like SCTV happens early 80s. You know, we sort of catch up on it as we're maturing and seeing it in reruns. Kids in the Hall starts up in the late 80s, and it's just such a bolt of lightning.
Yeah, I think foundational is right because it's the music, it's the Rivoli, it's CBC, like it's all, and that's
It's
like
so
it's 5 different
Toronto.
guys.
It's so fucking
Yes.
funny. It's so cool. It's so edgy,
unique.
But you know what else I fucking loved? Very important to me was Larry Sanders Show.
Absolutely.
Sure,
Yeah.
I worship the Larry Sanders Show.
Big fucking deal.
It's funny, we mentioned David Duchovny earlier. So now I'm thinking of David and Larry there. But Scott Thompson's there too. Scott Thompson, I've always wanted to talk. Well, do I get to share the story really briefly before you play a clip?
Sure.
I will. Okay, I'll keep it higher level. But you, VP of Sales, reached out and said, would you chat with my dad's friend about podcasting?
Yeah.
Right? His name is Larry. And I said to you what I would say to anybody, which is, of course. So I have a Zoom with Larry, and it's a very intense, very heavy, very interesting conversation. And in passing, he mentions his wife, Arlene. And in passing, somehow it's revealed that one of his wife's clients forever is Scott Thompson.
Unreal.
And then well, what do you think I said? I said something like, could your wife get Scott Thompson to visit my basement? And then he's like, going to see what he can do.
Yeah.
Okay. At some point, Arlene sends me a note and says, Larry says you'd like to have Scott in your basement. Give me some more info. I tell her what's going on down here. Next thing you know, Scott Thompson's in the basement.
Crazy.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And just like that.
I had no, Larry's a friend of my dad. They were sort of business partners for a while. And I've met Larry a couple times, had no idea his wife was an agent, and certainly had no idea that his wife was Scott Thompson's agent.
Find out who else is on her list.
Seriously.
Well, I think you have a stronger relationship with Larry and Arlene now than
I have
do.
had a
So,
second Zoom of Larry, and it was also fascinating.
Yeah. So shout out to Larry, shout out to Arlene. I did, so Scott, I mean, he covered so much ground. There was something that you clipped and put on YouTube where he was talking about the Brampton school shooting that he was there for. It was his
1975.
favorite. Yeah,
right?
his teacher, I guess, was sort of the target.
Was the target, yeah. There was a guy, he would have named the guy. I'll just say his name's Michael. But Michael wanted to shoot and kill this teacher that Scott had, that Scott also loved this teacher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just absolutely traumatic experience to live through. He also talked about being firebombed in LA. His home was firebombed because his partner at the time was a filmmaker who'd made a film about
the Hussein family.
I was gonna say he's
right,
like a Middle East thing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And so they were firebombed. So I mean, he's lived
That's like in
through
the late
some
90s.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously there was Kids in the Hall talk as well.
Lots of Kids in the Hall.
So I thought he pulled no punches about it.
Zero
Dealing
punches.
with the Amazon.
He was very
like,
honest. I got notes from Arlene. I got notes from Larry. Apparently, like, I'm going to just say it, the definitive Scott Thompson interview.
Yeah.
Delete, destroy all the others.
I thought also You have a few guests to touch on this, but like a real kind of like serious conversation about like ageism and like aging,
Yeah.
you know, in show business and careers, like it does sort of like Stafford's like another one. It's like, you know, none of us are getting
Right.
any younger. And what do you do? Like when you know, your art, you got to keep your art up.
Absolutely.
So,
But I don't know what clip Tyler has here. But I was going to say that the conversations about working for Amazon, because this new, is that where you're going?
Yeah, so
You
let's
take over.
let's play this clip and then we can chat about it some more.
Will there be more Kids in the Hall?
God, I don't know. There certainly won't be any on Amazon.
So
not if I'm around. Not if
So
they
t-
want
tell-
me in it.
tell me why. Why you
I don't
said
know
that.
if you have enough time.
I will make time for that. You're the
Amazon
one
was an
who's-
incredibly difficult experience. Yeah, I'm still wounded from it.
Well, this is a safe space, Scott.
The
Like-
censorship. No, it's not. The censorship was over the top. It was the worst we've ever experienced. Yes. And the difference is that the censorship came from the left, not from the right. And that's what was most disturbing. Like basically, it's like, oh my God, the call's coming from inside the house. And I'd never really experienced that before. We were making that show in the middle of the pandemic and in the middle of a cultural revolution where basically society kind of just went, oh no, old white men, they're garbage. I think that's how we were treated. And I know that's difficult to say, but we were treated absolutely terribly. And I've never experienced anything like it.
So
I mean, it was like almost like we were in the maw of a kind of a cultural revolution. And I feel like we tried our damnedest. And I think that the COVID and the separation of people, it kind of hurt us because we could be separated. We weren't allowed to be together. And, you know, it was rough. I mean, all of our material had to be vetted by the DEI and GLAAD. And these things are not right. And I just went, this is wrong. How is it that in this time, 2022, that I'm the one being treated like I'm the enemy by the people who I help make assholes?
Well, this is so disappointing to hear,
Yes,
Scott.
it is, but
'Cause
no
the
one
reboot
talks
was
about
really,
it.
It was really good.
Yes, but it could have been better.
Of course.
It could have been, okay, it's great because
Like,
we
can I
never
see
do
the
anything.
version?
We never do anything that's not great.
Well, that actually is true. Now,
But we at that time in history, we were not allowed to push the envelope. We were not allowed to talk about certain things. Not allowed.
can you tell me what things you were?
You were not allowed to talk about anything. You weren't allowed to talk about gay stuff, trans stuff, racial stuff.
Really?
You weren't allowed to talk about COVID stuff. You weren't allowed to talk about anything that went against the narrative.
But you're a gay man.
That's right. But
Spoiler.
I'm a white gay man. And racial politics at that time were exploding. And at that time, I believe that all I was seen as was an old white man. Not an old gay man, but that's what would happen. And I mean, it's difficult to talk about, but that's the truth. And it should never have happened. And I'm so proud of what we did because you just can't stop us. But I would never do that again. I would never go back into that world.
Well,
I mean, things
I
have
don't blame you.
changed, but we just happen to be making our show at a flashpoint. I know this is making you really uncomfortable.
No, you know what? I actually appreciate the honesty because I
Well,
had no
have
insight
to be.
into this. Right?
I can't pretend. I'm just never good at that.
Wow.
yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of layers there.
Yeah.
A lot of layers.
That's like tip of the iceberg stuff too.
Yeah.
It's all kill or no
I
filler.
mean, there's like ageism. There's sort of, dealing with big tech, Amazon, big company. There's, just, it's interesting. He sort of doesn't self-identify as a gay guy. He's just an old white guy.
Yeah.
So, it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like speechless even how to sort of like offer comment on that because there's a lot there.
The thing that really struck me about Scott is, and it started in the episode when you played the Don Cherry clip, and
right.
He said his reaction to that was that Don Cherry was done dirty in this country because he had spoken out and said something that was politically incorrect. And so Scott is, I think, through the lens of his experience through Amazon and certainly through the lens of his lived experience, he is extremely, he's so anti-political correctness, which is kind of fascinating for a gay man, but I totally see where he's coming from because of sort of the where that puts him on the spectrum, you know. And it was just really, really fascinating.
It was interesting how he, defended Don, and Don drops the F slur, and he's fine with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I know he kind of tried to goat me into dropping the F slur, and I wasn't gonna bite, but it was interesting to hear his thoughts on where censorship can come from.
Like I feel like he said I really liked him about Don Cherry.
Yeah.
Like they were cuddling in the video. He's on Don's lap, and they're having a great exchange there.
Yeah.
And he feels Don was done dirty. And I know there's lots of people in our circle who would say get rid of that racist dinosaur.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to hear a perspective of somebody like Scott Thompson. The whole episode was actually very, very interesting to just sit here and hear this man talk like that, where he had, room to breathe, and it was fascinating.
Yeah. I thought the whole part about like how shitty it was dealing with Amazon was really interesting too, because it's like, well, I get it, but it's like, you guys chose to do that. You're well into your career. It, probably came with a lot of benefits in terms of maybe I'm just like putting on my like PR hat, which I probably shouldn't do here because this is all about the real talk. So I don't just really, really interesting. Again, I'll just come back so many layers in that and so much stuff to unpack in such a fascinating.
And we didn't touch
guy,
on
for sure.
the fact he survived cancer. Like it never came
Right.
up. Like imagine having a guest who fought cancer.
Like buried the lead.
And I mean, I saw the documentary that Paul Myers wrote the book, and there was a Prime documentary where he came very close to dying.
Yeah.
From cancer.
Yeah.
It never made the cut on our 90-minute chat.
Yeah. So it's all that. And then I think he was leaving shortly thereafter to go as like Buddy Cole.
Yeah.
Like the US
And
tour.
that was the other thing. He's going as Buddy Cole because there can't be a Kids in the Hall tour because one member of Kids in the Hall won't sign off to do it.
Right.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah. He didn't name the
Interesting.
person.
Yeah.
He named privately to me afterwards.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got the name.
Yeah.
But in the recording, he said he just chose not to name the person, but that's why he's Buddy Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's similar to like, bands where, they don't necessarily see eye to eye, and we're, God.
Well, let's
good
do that
segue.
now.
God,
Okay.
that was totally not trying to be a segue, but perfect example.
Last other thing on Scott for me was I know he talked a lot about sort of the U.S. and sort of the whole Trump thing and the threat to Canada. And his perspective, which was, again, fascinating to me, was because he's lived through so much trauma, he doesn't see, he's not afraid of it. He's just, he's fascinated by it.
He runs towards the danger.
Exactly.
As he explained.
Which, what a fascinating perspective because of what he's lived through.
Yeah. I think it's a good, also just to remind, like, a lot of these things are sort of beyond our control, so just go for the ride.
Yeah.
See what happens. Just before we get to next, Mike, can I show you something? Tyler's seen this, but thank you to Leslie for the fact check. The Try video was under the this is right where Bentway Beers
That's
is.
where we have Bentway Beers.
But,
Yes.
But like
Michelle
probably
McAvoy.
like 30 years prior, so that's incredible.
Back when it was just Under
Wow.
the Gardener.
What a great song too.
Unreal.
Try. Love it.
No, well, yeah, I mean, I just saw the dog. And,
Don't tell
but
me I'm wrong.
It's not the first, so the first single was Outskirts.
That's right. yeah.
Radio
Flopped.
didn't want to touch
Also
it.
that's a fucking great
Yeah,
song.
it's a
But
great
then
song.
Love that.
they felt like they had a winner in Try. Like they're like, oh, well, they'll play Try, which was the second single. And then apparently radio didn't play it either.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned this like a half an hour ago, but John Martin at Much Music, for some reason, loved that song.
Yeah.
And he basically slapped it on Much Music because he was running Much
So,
Music.
like,
Pre-Denise Donlan.
that was
the John Martin
CFDR.
show.
Like that was a big hit on CFDR.
Yeah, but according to the doc, anyways,
Yeah.
according to people, it started on Much, and then the radio
Okay.
top
Sounds
40
right.
started.
And one
playing
of
it.
those songs that just sort of transcended format on radio. Like it was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's country. It's kind of a rocky thing.
Yeah, like
but-
alternative, like with
Yeah,
REM and stuff. No?
And for the record, FOTM Jim Cuddy still hits that high note.
Yeah.
In Try.
Yeah.
I feel like they played at the car show in Q1. I saw some video.
Well, they're still out there
cash them
hustling.
checks. Cash them
One thing I'm
checks.
learning
God
is
bless.
only 2 members of that band are making any money.
God
Oh,
bless.
Okay.
Shout out to
It's a
Greg and
good
Jim.
video. I forgot about
So I mean, how do you come down from Scott Thompson, right? Like that's
You just shut it down.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's it. And you mentioned it might be a top 5 episode. I, who host this fucking show, I think that's a top 5 episode of all time.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Well,
something.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll revisit that next time is talking about
We'll
the
rank 'em.
top five
Okay,
episodes.
Molly's number 1. Gino's number 2. And then you got Scott Thompson.
That's right.
Okay, so
All
where
right.
are we at here? And then
So,
we got to move on.
Allie Weinstein is next.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what?
Ontario Place.
I watched that documentary, Your Tomorrow, Not Your Toronto, as you referred to it many times during that episode.
Oh, I have issues.
But it's just a really, really lovely document of Ontario Place as it was pre getting raised.
Yeah, I actually biked to Trillium Park today, and I took a photo of my bike against a fence where you can see in there. Yeah, it's just raised.
Yeah, it's so depressing to drive by that and see it. It just looks bombed out.
Yeah,
and
the Sinosphere is there, and then it's just flat dirt.
Yeah. And what a beautiful place it was, and it really captures some characters that use that beach on a regular basis.
Enough about Ben Rayner.
Shout out to Ben Rayner.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyway, I really enjoyed that doc.
Yeah, nice job she did. And then it got heavy in that episode because I referenced her Aunt Judy murdered by Hamas on October 7th.
That's right. Yeah, and she had some very interesting things to say about that, and has some really interesting perspective on that, the whole situation.
Oh, speaking of interesting perspective on the situation, the next episode was Mike Wilner.
Absolutely.
And the topic came up again.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it was I really enjoyed that Wilner chat because there was virtually no baseball chat
say
whatsoever.
the Jays season preview, like literally like a week
Well,
before the
if
Jays.
you notice, Keegan never dropped by.
Yeah.
I think I was clear about it to Mike Wilner, but I'm sitting this season out. I know I was at the Dome Saturday, but I saw like 3 batters that whole fucking game.
We were just planning this fucking episode for like 3 hours. So.
I haven't watched a minute of Sportsnet. I haven't listened to a minute of Jays games on the radio. I'm sitting this season out. That's how I feel about Stu Stone's buddy, right? So I'm sitting this season out till this change is made.
Remarkable man.
Therefore, when I saw Mike Wilner in the calendar, I didn't want to talk Blue Jays with Mike Wilner. And I got to say, it's my favorite Mike Wilner episode yet. And I loved his revelation about Jerry Howarth. He had never gone public with that before.
Yeah, I was actually, I should have pulled that clip because it was...
How dare you?
Yeah, I know.
So
I told you, 4-hour episode. Let's go.
Was that new information?
To the public? Yes.
Yeah.
And I only had an inkling because I had Jerry on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of just reading the tea leaves there in the real time or whatever, that he wasn't mentioning Mike Wilner. Like he'd talk about this, that, and the other, but Mike Wilner he was not talking about. It was clear to me there was no relationship between Jerry Howarth and Mike Wilner, but I'd never had Mike Wilner speak so openly about how Jerry never liked him. He was never Jerry's cup of tea.
I feel like they're just, to say they're different eras would be an understatement. It's two totally different, like almost species in terms of sports. So I could sort of see how they wouldn't
But Mike got along very well with Tom Cheek.
Yeah, they were tight.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know.
But I mean, I think also Tom and Jerry didn't really...
No, that's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that. Like Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, I don't want to say like common denominator, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they named a street after him near 6 Points in Etobicoke. You can go to Jerry Howarth Drive.
Is he from Tom's River? Like Al Leiter? Am I wrong? Like he's from New Jersey or something.
I just hope his blisters. I hope his blisters healed.
Yeah, I feel like they're both from had the same.
I thought Jerry was from California originally.
Maybe I'm thinking Tom. Anyway, I probably botched it.
A good name
Someone
for your
lost to me.
fantasy baseball team is Al Leiter's Blisters.
Blister, right?
Traded for Jesse Barfield and then spent 3 years dealing with a blister.
Long time before he paid off. And then it's like, oh, that was a good trade.
Yeah,
it took a while.
Yeah.
Took a while.
Yeah, he's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
York, Pennsylvania. Okay.
There you go.
Taylor Swift, by the way.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Allie Weinstein was great. Mike Wilner was great.
So the night of the Wilner episode, March 13th.
Which was a Thursday.
You get an email.
I get an email. Yes. So my son had soccer practice from 6 to 7 p.m. and I bike to the Dome. It's a big bubble. And then we bike home together. So I get home at 7:30. And then I settle in to check in on the world. Let me see what emails I have. And there's an email in my inbox from a producer at CNN asking if I would be Audie Cornish's guest. I got to get that name right. Audie Cornish's guest on CNN this morning, the Friday morning. This is the email that's sitting there. And I had just already got, earlier that day, I had an email from Family Feud Canada asking me if me and my family would be contestants on Family Feud Canada.
You're doing that, right?
Yeah.
That happened the same day. So the Family Feud Canada, some people are like, oh, you'd be crazy. I think Al Grego said, you'd be crazy not to do it. My interest in that is almost zero.
Yeah.
Am I out to lunch here? I don't
Brian
want to
Dunn
be.
should just
Oh my God, yeah.
Brian
should
Dunn
go
would
in your
love
place.
it.
Yeah.
I don't actually
Brian Dunn,
want...
Stu Stone.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Cambrio.
You know why? I realize why. it's the opposite of real talk. It is the most phony baloney shtick. You gotta
showbiz.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy, that dance monkey or whatever. I don't want to do that for Family Feud.
Making
Canada.
whoopee.
It'd be different if Jerry had been in the basement and we had he was an FOTM and there was some relationship, and it's different. Zero relationship with Jerry D. Although Maestro was on Mr. D. But so that happened. And then later and this is also the day I quit Twitter, by the way, because I quit Twitter because of the Wilner chats. Right, I posted my last tweet. Then I got invited on Family Feud Canada. I wasn't interested. But then I got the email from the CNN producer that night. And I thought, I should do that. I felt like I should do it. And then I wrote back and said, okay. And then they told me to be on this WebEx link at 6:30 a.m. the next morning, because at 6:45, Audie Cornish was going to chat me up for a few minutes, 5 minutes or something like that. And the rest is history. I'm on CNN, buddy.
To quote Nikolai Borshevsky, unbelievable.
That's the quote, man. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Unreal. It was like a fever dream that happened so quickly that all came together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It came together so quickly. And that night I'm going to bed, normal time. Yeah, I think I watched The Pit.
Right. Yeah.
I watch The Pit every Thursday night, and I'm fucking enjoying The Pit. And I'm watching The Pit, and then The Pit's over. And now Monica and I are going to bed, and I'm lying there trying to fall asleep, and my brain is like, "Oh, I'm going to be live on CNN tomorrow."
Yeah. Millions of people.
And they don't tell you what they're going to talk. I don't tell my guests what we're going to talk about either, so I totally get this. Yeah. But I don't know what questions I'm going to get. I just know there's no safety net. There's no edit. This is going to be live, and it's happening the next morning. And I had a pretty bad sleep, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's like being on a breakfast television.
That's right.
Except people are watching.
Oh, that was rude.
Like millions of people watched you that morning.
If you say so. I don't know. I didn't check the numbers.
Well, it was on in every airport, every...
I'm still surprised by people who said they saw it on CNN, because then I always say, this happens in an episode I recorded already but haven't dropped, where he saw me on CNN, and I'm like, what do you mean you saw me on YouTube? And they say, no, I saw you on CNN. Oh, wow. And it blows my mind that people saw me on CNN. I just assumed everybody's checking out the YouTube clip that they uploaded.
I just love, I'm just looking at the CNN clip. So it's 341,000. And it just says, Toronto Mike says Trump's words of realign Canadian politics. It sort of reminds me of the Seinfeld where Kramer goes to LA. It's like, who is this Kramer?
Well, and there's that great thumbnail on the CNN YouTube page of you and Trump side by side.
It looks
Loggerheads.
It looks like it really does. And there's a chyron that says, because this was the day that they swore in Mark Carney as Prime Minister. Yeah. And it says, new Prime Minister sworn in. And I'm there in my Canada jersey. Yeah. And it really does, because I saw this after. I didn't see it in real time. And afterwards I saw it. It really looks like I'm the new Prime Minister of Canada. It's just, it is a fever dream, right?
Yeah.
It did happen. It was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you know what's, you played that clip off the top, and I can hear I'm nervous. Yeah. Off the top, I'm nervous. By the last question, whatever the last question she asked me was, I felt normal, and then I was like, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah, and then it was over.
And then she moved on.
That's okay.
So sorry, go ahead. Ken.
No, go.
No, I was just going to say, so this not so secret WhatsApp group was just absolutely popping off at 6:45 in the morning.
Apoplectic.
Everyone's watching. Everyone's so excited to see you.
It's a big deal, right?
Huge
deal. On CNN.
Huge deal.
Even PR Cam says it was a big deal.
Even bigger than that over there.
He's pointing to the front page of the Toronto Star.
That's right. So yeah, just unreal. I pulled a very short clip, not from the actual interview, but from the tail end of what you posted the next day, which was sort of the how did this all come together?
Yeah, I played the raw feed that I had in my...
Which was fascinating as sort of like a TV broadcasting nerd. I found that very fascinating to listen to.
Why I shared it, man.
So this is just the last few seconds of your appearance and the chat with the producer after.
And I hope we can check back in with you again. That's Toronto Mike. It's now 52 minutes past the hour. I want to give you your morning roundup. Some of the
Toronto Mike, man, I love that, and we will check back in with you. I hope. I hope you have a great Friday.
No, thanks for this.
Globally.
Thank you so much.
Comes after the Medical Research Institution lost 8.
Take care, sir.
Bye-bye.
Funding from.
And that was it.
That was it.
That was it. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe in your future, the recurring.
I'm the official correspondent. During this,
the man of the people.
American-Canadian War.
That's right.
So are you emotional? Because I feel like so many people reached out to you and. Honestly, we're all fucking scared in this country. This shit's
I know.
fucked, as
I've
we
been
know.
talking about it.
And I feel like a lot of people probably took like a little solace in just having someone from our orbit, one of our own, just out there and, saying how we're all thinking, feeling, looking. A lot of people are flying flags and wearing jerseys and all that. And
what I've noticed,
there's a little bit of comfort in just seeing Toronto Mike on CNN.
Like I've noticed, the people you might get on Toronto Mike might be like let's say a Doug Ford or an Olivia Chow. Like these are the kind of people, and these are politicians, right?
Right.
You're not getting, like, I think I'm the only civilian or whatever who's come on from this country to talk about what we're feeling or whatever. Yeah. And I don't, as you know, I don't speak like a politician. I don't have any such agenda or whatever. So maybe
like you literally have a lasagna box on your wall here. Like this is not like the Prime Minister's office, and that's what makes it great.
Speaking of that, where the sponsors must have been thrilled to get on CNN for 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy for them. They're sponsoring the Real Talk here. You never know who's going to call. It might be CNN. But I'm glad I did it. I think I did all right. At the time, I thought I did not so great, and then I came to change my mind that it was fine. I felt like it was 40% of what I was capable of. Like my ceiling is so high.
You did great.
Yeah, I think everyone was very, very proud of you.
All right, thank you guys
for the job you did, and you were, it was clear you were nervous at the start, but you really pulled it together.
I was, because you sit there in silence because you did the check-in at like 6:30, and now you're sitting there, and you're gonna at some point she's gonna talk to you live on, and you're sitting here, you're just sitting here early in the morning. It's quiet. You're just sitting where I'm sitting right now. In silence, you're hearing the CNN, and then your brain starts to tell you what's about to happen, and it's like you're about to be live on CNN, and there are people watching, and there's no edits, no safety net, and you're representing the whole fucking country. Honestly, the weight of it got to me. Yeah. And then she asked me, and then I never had any plan of what to say, except I only planned that I was gonna off the top just do a little like, this is what I do here. You can hear Scott Thompson, because only like 3 days before. Mm-hmm. You might know him from such things as Kids in the Hall or Larry Sanders Show. Sure. And then I'm going to just answer the questions. And I think it went fine. Yeah. We'll see if I get another call.
I think I texted you about it. I said, from my perspective as like a scummy, longtime PR practitioner, like you nailed the media training 101. First question, you set up who you are, what your show
and that was
is.
Instinct, buddy. Instinct.
Yeah. Just level set for all the audience. This is who I am, Toronto Mike. Maybe you've heard me. Here's who I am. And let's get into the real talk.
Thank you. And
Masterclass.
What a quarter, job. Because we haven't even quite wrapped up.
Okay. There's so much more to come.
All right, let's go.
So, it's gonna be all right. So you think that would be enough, right? Like just shut it down, hell of a quarter, take the rest of the quarter off.
Yeah,
right?
You skipped something significant. I feel like you skipped what would have been the headline in a normal quarter. That I was on, this hour has 22 minutes. Like, does that even in your notes?
Yeah. It was in my notes. Where did I thought
because this is before
because CNN. It wasn't attributed.
Yeah.
So
You know what? I did skip it. I did have it in my notes.
Like this hour, I get notes right away. Yeah. I get a note like, you were just on CBC.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, you were just on this hour's 22 minutes. And I didn't know what we were talking about at all. Wasn't watching, obviously. Yeah. And then I found out they took a clip from my YouTube channel of Charlie Angus and I talking about Wayne Gretzky, and they threw it in there. And I was pissed. Mildly pissed. What am I going to do? It's CBC's This Hour's 22 Minutes. But I felt like it wouldn't have killed them to put Toronto Mic'd on the screen in small type when they took my video that I took in this studio, independent podcaster. There was zero attribution. And then I went on to watch it online and YouTube, and I thought, let me look at the credits. Maybe they say clip from Toronto Mic's YouTube. I don't know. There was nothing. So zero attribution. My neighbor, Roman, was asking me about he's a lawyer. It's actually Laura Dykin's dad. And he's like, maybe you should write them or complain or something. And I'm like, nah, it's a comedy program, whatever. And then literally the next day I'm on CNN, where they're attributing the fuck out of me. Yeah. Like Toronto Mike talks, Toronto Mike, everything's Toronto Mike. I'm like, CBC fucks me over, and CNN screams my name to the rafters.
Didn't you say you tried to upload the clip to your own YouTube channel, and then it says copyright violation? Any revenue is going to the owner of this IP here.
Yep, that's true. That happened.
Literally,
so my own clip that they stole on This Hour's 20 Minutes, I upload it to YouTube, and I get this thing about how I don't have the rights to share this video. It belongs to CBC.
What a world.
Yeah.
What a world.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure.
No, thank you. That was the night of March 4th. I did have that in my notes, but I kind of...
You overlooked it. Okay, so
there's so much going on, Mike.
We got to get out of this segment. We have other segments.
He's one
Holy
man.
Shit.
Come on.
good 3 hours.
So again, you'd think that would be enough, but you're not done.
Oh my
Then you've
God.
got Michelle
I'm
Geister.
exhausted hearing about it. Yeah.
Michelle Geister, creator of Rap City. Fascinating episode. Just a lot of talk about the early days of Much, because she was there very early on, like 85, I think she joined.
Yeah, she created
Soul
Rap
and City,
City.
Rap City. And she was a Zoom. She was in Toronto. She could have joined, but
She told me she was going to be in Jamaica.
yeah,
Did you say
That's
she
why we
wasn't,
zoomed it.
She wasn't in Jamaica.
I feel like that 10 minutes was triggered by this episode specifically. But it was a good episode. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good
It was
chat.
an important episode
Yeah.
for me to capture that origins of Rap City, a show I
Yeah.
loved on Much Music.
For sure.
I also had no idea Master T was from the KW.
Yeah, I didn't know
too.
that either.
So that was cool.
Shout out to Basil, not Basil Donovan, but Basil Young.
Yeah, Basil and Tony.
Yeah,
Young-
absolutely.
the
He's
young
still
boys.
he's still there, you know, as a cameraman.
Unreal.
Basil.
Yeah.
Still there.
Fucking believable.
So then,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
very,
here it is. Yeah.
Oh, God.
the next episode,
Yeah. This is a big one.
Patrick fucking Pentland
Wow.
from Sloan. So the third member of Sloan, of the 4 in Sloan, to visit here. Although I think Jay was in the backyard.
Jay was in the
yeah,
backyard.
so that counts.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick has written so many like major Sloan jams. Money City Maniacs is his. Sugar Tune is his. Like so many classic Sloan jams. And as we talked about before, this app sort of spawned from that chat with Manfred,
Yeah.
because he kicked out a jam by Fuzzed Out, which is
Right.
Patrick's side project.
Right. That's exactly right. So I had tried to get Patrick a few times, and he kind of just said he was kind of into it, but never got in the calendar. It never happened. But then Manfred reached out and just said, you know, Toronto Mike would love to talk to you. And then suddenly he was in my calendar, and he came over. And I thought I'd get like a big bearded guy. Like I wasn't sure. Here's Patrick Pentland, and it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic.
So Patrick covered a lot of ground. He maybe alluded to a little bit of tension between him and Chris Murphy.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting. The biggest reveal for me was his feeling that he didn't really like Twice Removed, which is a fucking mind blow, because, you know,
I know where this is going.
Who
This
doesn't
was,
love
this
Twice
was the
Removed?
best moment. Yeah.
So I pulled a clip that I'll
Okay.
play, and then we
go.
can chat about it.
Speaking of Weezer, it's fair to say, I think, that Pinkerton was there Twice Removed.
It would be in that I've barely listened to it.
I mean, they had the first album,
Twice
this big kind of certain sound, and then the second album, very different. But
Right,
over
yeah.
time, people are
Yeah,
going
but
to come out and say, "Oh,
Here's the thing, though, and this is why I'm always down on Twice Removed, and I shouldn't be down on it. But here's the reason: is because of Weezer. Is because while we were making that record, while we were mixing that record, Twice Removed in New York, and we had the same A&R guy, and Weezer had been signed by him after we were signed, and I don't even know if we knew he signed them. We played with them on Smeared, and so we're mixing Twice Removed. I was really worried because it didn't sound like Smeared. I felt it was way too Beatles. It's not really, but I thought it was at the time, and I was like, the label, I don't know what we're doing. And they were like, no, it's going to be great. It's good. So whatever, we're doing it, and it sounded great and whatever. And then Todd Sullivan, the A&R guy, shows up with the newly mastered
Blue album,
this record by this band Weezer that you played with in LA one time. Remember that? I signed them. I was like, okay. I take it home to the hotel. I put it into my whatever it was CD player, and I was just like, oh my,
because that opening track is "My Name Is Jonas," and
Yeah.
it hits you like a tidal
I was
wave,
just
right?
like, this is the record we were supposed to. This is what I've been talking. This is the record we should have made. I just didn't know how to. Not that I was claiming to be. I mean, Weezer have their own sort of, you know, like Rick Ocasek being involved. It's a very carsy new wave thing. But I just meant like this is the power pop, which was not a term I used then, that we should be making. And in fact we kind of did anyway. But like, I was just blown away by their use of the guitars, and it was like a big guitar record, but it wasn't a heavy metal record, and I was so jealous. And I was just, and it was the same. Here's my thing that I'm so pissed about. I love Todd, but was that he knew that they were making that record, and he knew we were making this record, and he knew this record was going to be difficult for us to put out, and he should have said, listen to these Weezer demos, why don't you try to sound like this? But he didn't. And then they're the band that went off that we should have gone off, you know what I mean?
Fascinating insight, because we were all there for all of this, and that is fascinating.
Yeah. That totally adds. I think Weezer is such an interesting band because they seem like, it's not like they left like a trail of bodies, but like because there was rumors, I don't know if you guys remember, that they were like a manufactured, almost like the grunge boy band.
Yeah.
Because they did sort of just come out of nowhere and were kind of huge right away. And they had these really memorable videos, and the songs were
What's
great.
with
But like
these
Rick Ocasek produced them, but like they didn't really have like those indie singles and the EPs and stuff. But I don't know, like this is another like a lot of layers here for someone who's listened to a lot of Sloan and seen them many times. Did you guys go to the Smeared like anniversary concerts?
I did not. No.
That's like I kind of regret not going because they don't really play a lot of those songs that much, aside from like Underwhelmed. Like that whole Smeared sound was like buried, and that's still probably my favorite Sloan album, I think.
Might be my favorite Sloan album as well. But I have this tendency to prefer the first album I hear from a band. I don't know. I'm trying to coined a phrase for that because it happens to me all the time. And in fact, I'll go further. Many bands, my favorite song is the first single I heard from the band. Like many bands, including Sloan.
Yeah.
Underwhelmed is my favorite Sloan song.
I would also say like hearing this, the album Navy Blues almost makes a bit more sense because I remember when like Money City Maniacs came out, it was like, what is this like riff rock?
Yeah.
Like the only thing I could place would be like Urge Overkill a little bit, like in 90s alternative rock.
Sure,
it was so different than Twice Removed and One Chord to Another.
Penland's episode full of real talk and yes, full of this underlying animosity towards Chris Murphy, like for almost like Chris presenting himself as like the front man of this band, which wasn't supposed to have a front man.
Well, also all the side projects too. He did.
That was great. That was great.
Like I know you mentioned the was it the Trans Canada Highwaymen?
Of course.
Yeah. And he said, "Who's your favorite memories?" Like Craig Northey too. But like I bet those guys like that. That's like a good setup those guys have. Tour the theaters. Everyone wants to see these songs. Play three songs from each band. I bet they make pretty good money. It's probably easy. They all seem like nice guys. But
there should be more super groups, and we talked about that as well with Patrick. But why not have other super groups in this country with artists who have the 3 big bangers or whatever, and then everybody does their 3 bangers, and they all go in on a cover or something?
Yeah,
because Patrick could do that.
Well, you did the John Kastner, Patrick Pentland.
That's the one.
Super interesting.
Because then you could hear Shine or whatever from Doughboys.
I would go.
Honestly, I would go too. You want to go with me? Does MF want to go with us?
She would go. I think she would like that. Yeah.
She liked Gut, right?
Yeah, she did like that.
He's also got that Anyway Gang, which is also like Sam Roberts.
Oh right,
Anyway Gang of Sam.
And there's tons. That's with Inbred's
so for the guy who said no side projects, he's got a
hell of a lot
of side projects.
Well, he was the drummer in Super Friends at times.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So
come on, and I like Chris. And I actually there was a moment where I just said Chris Murphy was really funny, and Patrick right away is like, I'm funny too. And I'm like, oh shit, they need a psychiatrist. This band.
And Chris Murphy, I think, commented on your Instagram post.
His ears were burning or something like that.
Some kind of monster too.
Sloan did. And the funny thing is, and then the very next day, guess who's in the calendar? Andrew Scott.
Yes.
So that's in the calendar.
I don't think I've ever heard him talk.
No.
Well, you're gonna get 90 minutes.
So you'll
from me.
You'll complete the set, the Sloan set.
Okay, so we got to burn through whatever ends this cycle here because we got to move on. This is a long one.
Absolutely. So we're almost there. So you've just got a really solid string of episodes to close the quarter. Holly Cole.
She was great.
I
liked her very much.
Andrea Ramelow.
I liked her very much too.
I did too. That was a great
Tom
episode.
Wilson history. Too.
Yes, that's right. No More Noise, the Nose Lady.
Yeah, you know what? I like the Noise Lady.
Yeah, she was quirky. Yeah, she was fun.
She's kooky and fun, and she danced.
Yeah.
How did she get on your radar? Like, how did this?
Esri.
Oh, that's right.
I produced her on Esri's Geographical Thinking.
Yeah. Shout out to Mike Rogotsky.
Shout out to Mike Rogotsky.
Stu fucking Stone.
Wow.
Come on.
Fellow Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Always gold, this guy.
Yeah. Just a great, interesting chat of the Ross Atkins stuff. Obviously, he's kind of biased towards Ross because he's buddies with.
He says Ross is doing a great job.
Yeah, and I think the rest of us would disagree.
The bar is very low for Stu Stone.
And Stu kind of danced around the Trump stuff. And
he's remarkable.
Understandably so.
He's remarkable.
Given he's crossing the border.
I feel like now that the transcripts show up on those weird websites for podcasts, I feel like perhaps we're all a bit nervous.
Okay, but Stu is a dual citizen.
Yeah.
As Wilner is. I learned Mike Wilner is. And as a future guest, returning guest, Jordan Wagman, the chef, he also they walk amongst us, these dual citizens.
I will say it's interesting, and I'm on a couple of different threads with Stu by text, but he mentioned he's seen parts of America that most people don't.
Right.
Some of we have this thing that it's the Wrestle Crap group chat with me and him and the two guys from Overtime. Some of the videos he sends us, like where these wrestlers live, I've
seen Deliverance.
Fucking wild. He sent one with you remember Ken Patera?
Oh yeah.
The Olympic strongman?
Yeah.
It's just like some of this like footage too has it just like him on his cell phone. It's like, God, these guys that were literally cut. That guy fucking cut Andre the Giant's hair. He literally, I think, held
Brutus
the scissors.
The Beefcake,
Actually,
no? Brutus the Beefcake.
No, this is Patera and Big John Studd.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See, that was before. Like that was like the before on the mug there.
Holy crap! Yeah. No. Well, Stu always interesting to chat with, and he loved the chat. I love the chat.
Yeah,
and we might
always great to hear from Stu.
Stu lately.
That was Stu's 94th appearance, by the way. So
My
he's
God.
creeping up towards the
Coming up
the
to
century.
Cam here. Wow.
Songwriter and producer extraordinaire Hill Korkutis was a fun ep.
Yeah, I liked my chat with Hill, who wrote the Toronto World Cup theme song.
I like
for
that with the
2026.
little the TTC chime at the end. Yeah, I like that.
Soon to be bankrupting the city of Toronto. The World Cup, not Hill.
And then the final episode of the quarter.
Final ep.
Oh my God.
The most hyped ep of the quarter. Yesterday, this was fucking yesterday.
Wow.
The big announcement from Mike Richards.
What was the announcement? I forget.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was so he last made his big announcement
In December.
In December 2024,
Yeah.
and he was back in March. 2025 to make another big
Yet
announcement
another.
because that announcement never came to fruition.
Right.
Never happened.
Yeah.
So what I do with Mike is I'm like, Mike, you get 1 hour in the basement. We're going to start by discussing the last big announcement and what happened. Like what happened? Walk us through that. And then we'll do a drum roll. We'll get the new announcement, and then I get to ask whatever I want, and I get to get so I did my in real time. I'm learning what this is, and it turns out he's recording an hour on a Thursday, and he's giving $800 to Rogers to air that hour on Calgary AM radio on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
That's the big announcement. And, depending on, how much you like Mike Richards, that's either very cool way to go, Mike, or that is, to quote Chris Murphy, it's underwhelmed.
Now, when were you finding this out for the first time?
Yeah.
Did you know? So you didn't know going in, like you wanted to be surprised, like
I
all
didn't
of us
know
did.
going in. I didn't know going in. So I wanted to, because I don't want to, if it's a shitty announcement, like I don't want to know the announcement till it's unveiled live and there's people on the live stream
Right.
and it's happening. And then because then I'm going to react like real deal. Like and then I get to ask the questions, like, cause I don't, is it paid programming?
Right.
Is it live? All these, is it going to be a podcast? All these important information things that I want to know.
So interesting.
So I have mad respect for his hustle and I root for him.
100%.
He's trying.
I think he's making a huge mistake, but the last 4 announcements, I think I told him were huge mistakes. So I think he knows, although he's never ever said, like, Mike, what would you do? Like, he never did. His buddy Jeff Lumby will phone me up and say, hey, what would you do to help Mike Richards? And I tell Lumby, because he asks. Mike Richards has never ever once said, like, what do you think of this? What would you do? He's never done that. So he chases the MSM dream.
Yeah.
And that's how he's wired. He seems to need a dance partner that is the mainstream media, even if he has to pay $800 a week to have that partner.
Yeah. And I guess he sort of said he sees this as like a starting point too. But where does this go, whether it's in Rogers or Bell or DAZN or Amazon or any of these companies? Like what is the path on this type of content at this point?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what I gathered was that he'd have this hour on Calgary Sports Radio, and there would be such a Bob Willettian spike of listenership during that hour that Toronto would take note and say, we need him on 590, but not paid programming. We will pay him.
I mean, it is interesting. We talked about this on, in text a little bit where, he's talking about this big team behind him. He's got Stern Sound Guy. He's got all these like sponsors lined up and whatnot. This remind me a little bit about like Alan Zweig and, all the producers in the background, like different content. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I always thought it was like really interesting where he said there's all that, but then he thought he wouldn't have the audience like someone like Hepsi would, which I would beg to differ. Like he
said Humble and Fred.
Was that Humble?
It was Humble and Fred.
But he's been like on major markets in Toronto and Calgary.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was
really
surprised at that
interesting.
too, where he's basically suggesting he doesn't have as big a built-in audience as Humble and Fred, but Humble and Fred left terrestrial radio in 2005 when Fred got fired from Mix 99.9, and we didn't start the daily Let's Make Real Money thing till 2011.
Right.
So there is what's that math? 6 years. There's 6 years between we're on Toronto radio and we're now podcasting every day.
Yeah.
Interesting. Some people will be like, "Oh, that was underwhelming, that announcement." But I like this guy so much. I like him as a human. He's not perfect. He says things like girls hockey is unwatchable, things like that. But I so root for this guy. Like, I just wish he'd stop trying to kick that football, because Lucy/MSM is never going to let him kick that football.
But I feel like at this point, this is almost like a mini series. Like, you have to listen to all these in succession, because that's sort of the pantomime that's like acting out here. Like, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I know it's kind of fun, and we can't joke about it and not, but I don't know. It's definitely an ongoing saga. Yeah.
Can I? And again, we're in overtime here, and we're going to cook with gas from here on out. But I did take note on my public Facebook page, and FOTM left a comment after the Scott Thompson episode that I thought I should read. Okay. So I came out of Scott Thompson thinking it's a top 5 of all time. And then I re-listened and I said, oh, it is a top 5 of all time. Okay. And I got feedback from people like Andy and yourselves that, oh, that's a stellar episode. But right after I posted Scott Thompson's episode, I got this note from Banjo Dunk, FOTM Banjo Dunk.
Sure.
Can I read it to you?
Please. Yeah.
Again, a public comment on my public Facebook page.
And he's just for the listeners who don't know, he's like does Tom Cochran, Stompin' Tom Commoner's cover nights and tributes and stuff
he's
like that.
He's in the Stompin' Tom world. And, he's got Douglas Cameron as
active folk musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you air this, Toronto Mike? Shameful. I could barely get past the first minute. You give your platform to a guy who finds the threat to Canada and Canadians, quote, fascinating? Then he brags about going there to happily tour while thousands of his neighbors are about to experience great suffering? Louise Penny inspires a nation. This guy, not. So this whole idea that I gave this man, Scott Thompson, 90 minutes.
You platformed him.
Mm-hmm.
Shameful is the line. That shameful jumps out at me because I wrote Dunk back and told him it's one of my favorite episodes of all time. And I can't imagine a scenario where I don't have a conversation with Scott Thompson in this basement. Right?
Where did he post this? On Facebook?
Facebook, yeah.
On Facebook.
So shout out to Banjo Dunk. We don't have to agree on everything. Still dig this guy. Still love this sweetheart. But yeah.
Say emotions are high in this country.
Yeah, emotions are high.
Across the board.
Indeed.
Is that it for Wrapped?
That's all, Mike. I'm sorry.
Holy shit.
There's no more.
That's the longest Wrap. It won't be like this next quarter because I can't keep up this
We'll
pace.
see.
I'm exhausted.
We'll see.
All right, let's move on.
It's almost kayak season.
Almost kayak season.
Shout out to Oh no, I was thinking it's Lee Aaron. Oh yeah, Biles.
I think we have this conversation every time.
Yeah. It's a good riff. I like this.
Oh yeah.
I like this album. This had Love Is was the first single. Love Is What You Want It to Be.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
I just
something called
wondered-
Black Velvet, which is an FOTM jam.
Goes
I
hard.
just wonder what that voice like love is. You know, it gets kind of like wavery. Like how'd they do that?
Heaven to the lonely.
Show me
What you want me to do. Love is what I got for you.
Actually, we're kind of joking about Steven Tyler singing like Al Jolson. She kind of gets it. Down on instinct. Anyway,
Almost FOTM Atlanta Biles.
what does this introduce?
This is
I forgot
Forgotten
this
CanCon, Cam.
Cam, take it away.
Oh my god! Oh fuck! I forgot about this. Okay, yeah.
Try to do this in like 8 minutes or less. if you
Okay,
can.
this is actually going to be for you, Tyler. So Mike and I have already had a little chat about this.
Okay.
I'll just say Mike had a reaction. He's like, and then he's like, oh.
And then it clicks in, yeah.
Okay.
So I have heard this. Should I play it?
So let's listen to it. Tyler, let us know when you recognize what this is, if you recognize what it is.
It's worth the wait.
The opening's weird, this song.
It's a nature jam.
Yeah.
They steal this from Dan Gibson.
What's that Tarzan song by Baltimora?
Oh yeah.
Okay. At this point, I wasn't sure. At this point, I'm like, I don't think I know this song.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's warming up to me, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But wait for it. Showers over everyone. I know this fucking song.
Anything?
I mean,
I know it sounds like a lot of.
It sounds like a lot of stuff. Which
Yeah,
is,
guess what year it came in? Like where did you place it?
I would say like 96.
I'd say earlier.
Very close, 97.
97.
Okay, I thought maybe like 94, 95.
But yeah,
I don't know it.
era specific. Okay, so the name of this artist is Earth Boy.
Oh,
does the name Earth Boy ring a bell?
No, it does
at all.
not.
Name of the song "Showers Over Everyone," as the refrain says. Interesting backstory. This definitely got a bit of play on CFNY. Definitely got a bit of play on Much Music. In the video, the namesake Earth Boy is a guy. He's sort of dressed up like almost like a Southern gentleman. I used. Do you ever see like pictures of like Les Claypool where he's sort of dressed like a dandy, almost like a Colonel Sanders?
Yeah.
So he's sort of dressed. He's in a field. It seems like they had a decent budget. So anyway, Earth Boy. He's an artist who is based in East Gwillimbury, Ontario,
near Guildford, where my grandmother lived.
Shout out to Esri. Here's the Esri Geography Corner, the birthplace of both Curtis Joseph and also John Candy.
Wow,
that's incredible.
Yeah. So anyway, Tyler, you said you thought this is 96, 97. It's kind of a grunge sound.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
It's
the band. You mentioned the band yet?
Wait, no. I was gonna say it reminds me a lot of like Stone Temple Pilots.
That's the best. I was gonna say.
Stone Temple Pilots.
It's very much got a Scott Weiland Stone Temple Pilots vibe going on.
Totally.
Like, you know what I was thinking of? Sour Girl.
Yes.
She was a sour girl from the day that she left.
100%. So the name of the namesake Earth Boy is a guy named Michael Hansen.
Okay.
Another Mike. Do you guys know who Michael Hansen is? He was in another very big
he was
Canadian
the fourth
band.
member of the Hansons.
Mike, I sent you the other track. Do you want to say that? Michael
course, I'm
Hansen,
ready.
aka Earth Boy, the grunge artist, was also in this band.
fucking Glass Tiger.
Yeah.
Alan Frew.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a feel-good jam. I forgot to... Mike, I think I said this could be a forgotten. I feel like we don't even hear this on Boom. This is a great song.
This is a good song.
The chorus is like great. I left Mike a voice memo with the chorus. I got so fired up.
When I get voice memos of Cam singing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Michael Hansen, the original drummer for Glass Tiger, years after the fact went on to form this other project named Earth Boy. So Michael Hansen was the drummer for the first two Glass Tiger albums, A Thin Red Line and Diamond Sun.
Yes.
But he co-wrote a lot of their biggest hits, including what we're hearing now, I Will Be There. He co-wrote You're What I Look For, like that song.
Yeah.
He co-wrote...
He's a good singer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is the first song on Diamond Sun. I'm still searching for something.
Yeah.
I'm still searching for someone. A dud and a love on the run. That song, written by Earth Boy. After he left Glass Tiger, became a touring musician. He toured Europe with Tina Turner.
Wow.
He played with Moody Blues.
Whoa.
At the Hollywood Bowl. They probably did Nights of White Satin
Oh my
and
God.
all the shit.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and he's still kind of like kicking around. He was in like a Beatles cover band. Now he's got a label called Radar Love Records. He's done a little bit of music that's almost like a bit more like new agey, like sort of ambient music.
Michael Hansen.
Yeah, so he's
Wow.
like still out there. Now I did Google him. He's on social media. I did find his Twitter account. I forget what it calls, but it seems like he settled back into like Newmarket area. And I did find he he replied to it was like a tweet about
Connor McDavid.
No, it was like a protest, some kind of some anti-Trudeau protest, and he replied to it, that asswipe needs to step down now. Good for
boy.
Newmarket.
Oh boy.
Just in but I was gonna say, Mike, this seems like he could be an FOTM. He seems like he has some political opinions that might not mesh, but really interesting resume. Because I mean, the original drummer for Glass Tiger, I still really like that Earth Boy song.
That's a good
song.
song.
It's very cool.
Huh.
Yeah, the Earth Boy song has been banging around my head for the last few days since you sent it to me. And I got to just go back to Andre the Giant for a moment. So Andrew Ward on the live stream, he says, when they cut Andre's hair, I cried. But on the live, this is exciting to me because I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I really believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. But Carlos Delgado has joined us on the live stream. And he writes, I think it was actually Stud and Heenan who held the scissors, and Patera held Andre's arms.
I will confess that's actually me because when I had to get my thing reset.
I thought you were Bobby Cox.
Well,
Uncle Bobby
I got
Cox.
locked out and I couldn't get it reset. But no, that's me.
You know what? I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
I thought
I'm sorry.
Carlos
I thought
Delgado
Carlos was like a classic WWF
I was gonna
era
tell
guy.
Anyway,
Carlos.
I will ask anyone who's still hanging in the live stream, please let us know. Just thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you remember Earth Boy showers over everyone?
Let us know in the live stream.
Apparently,
Absolutely. I'm going
that's a cool
to
song.
move on to the next because I know how overtime we are. And
Just one very quick
Yeah.
fact.
We're
about
just getting started.
Shower over everyone. It was recorded at Metalworks Studios.
Okay, and that's a good
course it was.
opportunity to tease the fact
Yeah.
that the founder of Triumph is going to be in
Yeah.
this very, very basement. The guy who runs.
I'll drop it in our group chat tomorrow too because
also
they spent money on the video. It was a different time in Canadian music. It really was.
That's the not so secret WhatsApp group. I find it interesting that Rush did record at Metalworks and Triumph, of course, Metalworks, they own it. But Triumph and Rush never shared the same stage.
Huh.
Don't you find that interesting?
That is interesting.
They never played
Cut
together.
from the same cloth.
It's
the two greatest trios in Canadian rock history. right?
hundreds and hundreds and
Those
thousands
two,
of
and then,
shows each.
And then the guys from Windsor or whatever, Tea Party. Okay.
I don't think anyone knows Earth Boy, but you remember it.
I remember
course,
that, but I didn't know it till the showers over everyone refrain.
Everyone.
Showers over
Showers over
everyone.
It's a good chorus.
Lexicon Corner making a return. We took the quarter off last term because we didn't really have any additions, but Cam and I have been talking about this.
Yeah.
Because we think there's something that we need to sort of put in the lexicon.
Yeah, so Tyler and I have been talking about this the last couple of weeks.
Oh, behind my back.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what.
Well,
we're
we're
talking about.
setting up this episode.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then we had a flurry of texts today as we really nailed these. I think these are good. So there's just the two that we've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got two things. So Mike, we've got something that we're and we can spitball these. We can discuss these. Nothing's set in stone. We've got something called a level 1 convo. Okay. So I'm gonna think of this like this is the Urban Dictionary. Do you ever look at that? Like there's a description, then they use it in a sentence.
Sure.
So a level 1 convo, a conversation where somebody, in brackets, in an uninformed but innocent manner, mentions a widely known connection or fun fact to Toronto Mike. Q1 example: Larry, friend of who? Your dad.
My dad.
Yeah. Tyler's dad.
Larry, who's married to Scott Thompson's agent. Is that?
Yeah, that's right.
Asking if Toronto Mike would consider having Mary Jo Eustace on the Toronto Mike podcast.
Although I didn't put that in public, but yeah.
Sorry. Well, the famous example.
What's the point of the private chat if it ends up on the fucking podcast?
Anyway, this is more
fix it in post.
Yeah, but I think one that was public, the Ed Conroy one. I feel like you've talked about that publicly.
Okay, we can share. It was Hannah Sung. I met her at a David Kynes breakfast at the King Eddie Hotel.
Yeah, there's nothing
And we were in a
wrong here.
chat,
There's no.
And Hannah
ill
Sung, who's an
intent.
FOTM, said, "There's a guy you should talk to. You should talk to this guy Ed Conroy."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You mean FOTM
I know.
Hall of
I
Famer Ed
basically
Conroy?
like Ed. I basically it was like one of those things. where
Yeah.
It's like when who is it? When Homer said we should have a movie called about dinosaurs that run wild in a theme park or whatever. And then Apu spends the next how long telling him, how is it that you never heard of Jurassic Park?
Yeah. So again, and again, there's no ill intent. It's just they don't happen to know, or they're casual fans, or maybe they haven't listened to pods. A level 1 convo. Again, it's not insulting. It's just that type of convo.
Take it under advisement. I'll think on it. Okay.
The next one, I might want to change the name because it's a little rude. I was thinking
change the name of level 1 convo.
Well, it could be either a polymer app or a cock app.
Whoa.
Like spelled like CAUL, like think of like putty,
like you do in the bathtub.
Yeah.
You cock it.
So let's just go with a polymer app. Okay.
Yeah, like our money's made from polymer.
Grout. Yeah,
Like
a grout app.
plastic.
Yeah, grout. A grout app.
Okay.
A grout app.
So it fills in the cracks.
Yeah.
I get
So
it now.
that's a Toronto Mike episode with a relative unknown person who fills in some gaps, like caulking.
Yep. I get it.
Or window sealant. And has close connections with other FOTMs on major topics within the TMU zeitgeist. So Q1 examples, we mentioned these: Amin Bhatia or Michelle Geister.
Yeah.
So people might not be household names, but really are like right there and fill in a lot of details.
David Aaron's
another good
fills
one.
in a lot of cracks. He's a grouter.
Okay, so so used in the sentence.
I like this.
I just listened to the Amin Bhatia episode.
It's like thin tortilla. Amin Bhatia.
Okay, I just listened to the Amin Bhatia episode. That was a great polymer app. That was a great grout app.
That's a hell of a
grout
grouter
app.
Or I think
I
maybe,
learned a
maybe
lot.
we can go. That's a cock episode because we know what we're meaning. It'll sound.
cock.
It's like someone who's not in the TMU will think we're talking about a penis, but of course we're talking.
No, but then
about
like the
cock.
subtitles will like use the other. Cause it's not gonna be like CAU. I like grout because it also sounds like great.
Fill in the
grout
crack. It
episode.
fills in the crack.
Yeah, it's grout. It's grout.
I like grout.
That's good grout.
Yeah.
Great grout.
Yeah.
So, but the
Brought
level
the grout.
back to
He brought
level
the
1
grout.
for a minute.
Yeah.
Level 1 convo.
So where does level 1 come from? I know level 42.
It's just like basic
Entry
level
level.
1.
Oh.
Entry. Okay, better. Entry level convo.
Okay. All right, and then will you guys come back next quarter to tell me about the 3 levels of FOTM?
We're gonna workshop that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna work on
I
that.
really want to.
Yeah.
I want to differentiate there. I can't believe I thought Carlos Delgado was on the live stream. Like my heart sunk.
Yeah. Well, you saw his photo. It seems.
Yeah.
It seems
And I was
real.
like-
His photo
Seem legit.
Well, we had DJ Lethal on the live
He's got
stream.
his hat on.
Why wouldn't he be here?
We had the guy from the American Tale or whatever.
He's
the fuck.
retired.
Yeah.
He's got time.
Okay, I love it. Grouter episode. All right.
All right. That's
All right.
it.
Entry level convo.
Close it up.
Okay, we got a move on here. Lots going on here.
WikiLeaks.
Okay. These I can go through really quickly.
Good.
Because one we talked about. By the way, the big one is updating the Alan Gregg thing in Scared.
Right.
Is it just me? I always spell like scared and scarred.
Well,
Like-
scarred is 2 R's.
Yeah, but I think you
Scared
can
does
spell
not.
it both ways. So
No.
anyway, this is the update that I made in
You
this.
can spell it both ways, but one way is wrong.
Yeah. So the major update for this quarter based on Toronto Mike, the Scared Wikipedia page, the song was reportedly written about Alan Gregg, a Canadian pollster and political advisor. At the time, the Tragic Lape were managed by Management Trust Limited, where Gregg was a partner. As he discussed on the Toronto Mike podcast, Gregg says the band wrote the song in response to some critical feedback he provided on early versions of tracks for the band's 1994 album, Day for a Night.
Beautiful.
Wiki Police said that can stay.
Amazing.
I'm going to burn through these. I guess it's like February 22nd. I totally rewrote the head.
Yeah. Noah Mintz.
Yeah, Noah Mintz and Friends, because I just thought it was shit. So I spent about 20 minutes rewriting that.
Everyone check that out.
And actually, I hate to say the reason I did that is because I heard Noah Mintz on the Raven Drool podcast. So there was some facts. And
Was he better on his show or my show?
They were equally as good.
Come on, get out of here.
And actually, I also I don't even like this band, but I kind of want to like fuck with them a bit. But it was accurate. Ben Gibbard,
Yeah.
from
of course.
Death Cab for Cutie. He was on the Bandsplain podcast talking about the band The Laws, because they're doing all these like Britpop episodes.
Yeah.
And he said to the host Yassi Salek, if The Laws reunited, I will do a second album with the Postal Service.
Whoa.
He was kind of joking, so I did update the Postal Service. And I said, he did say on the podcast, if The Laws reunite, I did say it was sort of in jest, but maybe not.
So I understand this. So this WikiLeaks doesn't have to be a TMU thing. It can be just anything.
This is just
there.
Rosie Gray To's
All right,
wiki activity.
I caught up now.
Mainly stuff updated.
Can
based on
I?
Toronto
This
Mike.
never came up in our Wrapped, but can I just interject something really quickly?
Sure,
here?
sure.
Is that Robert Lawson, as you know, came over and we fact checked the Randy Bachman episode of Toronto Mike, and it was a polarizing episode, but one of my favorites. I enjoyed it very much.
Incredible.
There was a podcast released with an AI version of Randy Bachman going off on Robert and I about that interview. And it was compelling listening for me. Like AI Bachman was kind of funny. And in the way he went at us and it was just wild to me. And Robert Lawson turned me on to the fact this existed in the wild. So I just want to say shout out to AI Bachman. I enjoyed being roasted by him.
Do we know who is behind that?
I don't know I got to get Robert Lawson. Next time we talk to Lawson, we'll try to see if he knows what's going on there. But it was wild to have a AI Bachman going at the fact check episode with Robert Lawson.
That thing I listened to, it kind of like freaked me out a bit. It's like, where's this all going?
It was
like really?
Yeah. Anybody was funny. I thought AI, and I hate AI slop and all that, but I found AI Bachman to be kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. Like it was sort of coherent, but like not. But not?
I didn't know, like, was somebody scripting this and it was just the voice? Or I didn't know, like is he coming up, is AI coming up with these jokes?
Yeah.
Because we're all fucking in trouble
now.
Robert
also, he just went on, I think this thing's on like Discord or something, but he just did a fact check of Randy Bachman announcing a Guess Who reunion.
Well, speaking of fact check.
Oh. All right. Okay. Very good.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law.
Breaking the law, fact checks. Shout out to Robert Lawson, the official fact checker of the TMU.
The patron saint of
fact checking. Just a few things I wanted to set the record straight on from this past quarter.
Okay.
In the Altered by Mom episode, they shared a fun fact that Junos cost $700. If you win a Juno, you can buy your statue for $700. That is incorrect.
Oh!
They cost $550.
Oh, close enough.
Including shipping to Canada. I know this because there's a page on the Juno website where you can go and order one. They do make sure that they check to make sure that you're eligible to purchase one.
I feel that's close enough.
Altered by Mom no doubt regrets the error.
Like, do you have to win?
You have to win.
Yeah, you have to win.
Okay. Yeah. And
like
then
Altered by Mom can't get one for Group of the Year or whatever.
What about Broccoli and
I think they can.
Shout out to Broccoli, proud new father.
Juno award-winning, big air quotes.
That's right.
According to Susto.
So save that for the next segment.
Yeah. In the Chaz Lawther episode, Mike referred to George Strombolopoulos as Jeff Strombolopoulos.
That's was I drinking in that episode?
With no correction offered. So I no doubt you regret
but
that
that's
error.
more of a less an error and more a slip of the tongue.
It's wrong.
Because I know his name is George.
It's wrong.
That's
so
funny.
It needed to be. The record needed to be correct.
Was it Jeff with a J or like G off?
I think it was maybe a G off.
It's pretentious.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretentious.
In the Greg Keeler episode, Greg referred to the author Ken Kesey as Kevin Kesey.
Oh.
Greg, without question, regrets that error.
The electric Kool-Aid, whatever. Or is that Tom Wolfe? Anyway.
That was...
Lawson, I just lost the Lawson.
That was Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary.
On February's Toast, on 2 occasions, Mike referred to the musical comedy group The Lonely Island as The Lonely Planet.
Fine travel show if you want to go to like Bali
Once again,
or something.
Mike, no doubt
How
regrets
come
that.
no one corrected me in real time?
And once again, as we talked about, that I sort of missed it in my notes, but worth calling out again. The CBC used a video clip of Charlie Angus from the Toronto Mike podcast without attribution.
Do we know anyone, Cam, who works for the CBC? I can talk
Not
to?
a clue.
You don't know anybody, right?
Chuck.
You don't sleep with anyone over
who's
there?
the Chuck Thompson, Omnibus?
Yeah, let's get
Take it up with
get
him.
Thompson on the phone.
What about Rosie Barden? You sleeping with her?
Take it to Ian Hannamansing.
Handsome man thing?
CBC, as far as I can tell, does not regret the error.
Oh my goodness.
Stu Stone.
Did you play Breaking the Law there?
I did play Breaking the
Law.
Okay, because I'm like...
You like saying it, you were air driving and stuff.
No, but I did, when I introduced the fact check, that's this one.
Yeah.
Right? And then the next segment is actually this.
Yeah, that's right.
But during this one, I heard Breaking the Law. You didn't hear it?
Yeah, I should have tipped you off.
Because Tyler played it.
I like to hit a second Breaking the Law right after the
I
last
didn't.
one.
You
But
should
I should have said it.
You know what? We need more rehearsal time.
We do.
Was
We're
it
sloppy.
Judas Priest or Iron Maiden?
That was Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure that's a Midtown.
The other one's like
Gord
Run
favorite.
for the Hills.
Run through the hills. That's I don't know. They're all the same. I'll ask Midtown Gord to tell me.
Iron
so
Maiden,
this is where
bogus.
so it is interesting. We're going to hear from Stu and find out where Stu is right now. But it is interesting. He was in this basement last week, so there's a little less excitement tied to this one. But here we go. I have not heard this. We're all going to soak this in real time. It'll take a minute. Let's listen.
Hello, Toronto Mike and friends. I believe potentially Cam Gordon. Love you, miss you, buddy. This is the Where in the World is Stu Stone segment. First off, shout out to all the FOTMs and all the FOSSs who tuned in to hear my appearance recently on the Toronto Mike Show. I am currently actually still in Ontario. Whoa. I'm still here. So that's where in the world I am. And I happen to be listening to a Toronto Mike episode at the moment where he has Mike Richards on. And I have to comment, Mike. I know it's not really my place to say, but boy, you were really something in that interview. I would love to talk to you further about that, but that was something. Anyway, speaking of something, you are something, Mike, something special. And I look forward to coming back to the basement again and hitting my head. Shout out to Mike Wilner. And I hope all the FOTMs are doing great. I love you, and I love them.
He's in Ontario, everybody.
Amazing.
Always live the gimmick.
We need to set up one of those Google Maps with all the
Powered by
pinpoints
Esri.
where Stu has been.
Powered by Esri.
Yeah, we'll get on that.
He does allude to the fact he wanted to talk to me, and I never heard that clip till right now, but he sent it to me, and then we were chatting today, and he thinks I have this unique ability to tear somebody apart without them knowing they were just torn apart. Like, so I will tear down a Mike Richards and his dreams, but he will not have any idea I did that. He'll think like I'm a sweetheart supporting him or whatever.
You'd be a good PR person.
It may be because he couldn't believe, apparently, and I have to go revisit the Mike Richards, but apparently I, piece by piece, like dismantle his thing he built up, and
Like flaying.
He's none
They
the
said in, like the Middle Ages.
He's none the wiser. So
Well, no, but you honestly you do this because you care. Like you're just like you're giving your opinion.
Yeah.
Like it's better than this
do
sounds
care.
awesome, Mike. It's like if you don't think that, like be honest with the guy.
Yeah, it's real talk.
Yeah.
Real talk, we started this episode 8 hours ago with a new induction into the FOTM Hall of Fame. That's you, Tyler. I hope it's sunk in.
I'm still overwhelmed. It's going to take me a few days to.
When you bike home, will your wheels hit the ground?
I don't think
Or will
so.
you be like the kids in ET?
ET just flying into the
to the ice storm.
to the moon.
Do those effects hold up? Like if I go watch that moon bike scene, will I say, "Oh, that looks pretty real"?
Yeah, no wires, nothing. No
Because I
green
watched
screen.
Rear Window with my 10-year-old, and there's a scene where the main guy is falling. He's falling. Spoiler alert, okay? And Hitchcock does this thing where this cameras go down of the guy falling, and Jarvis laughed out loud at how phony he says it.
Doesn't hold up.
And I said, that was 1954, right? But
Show him Psycho next. See how he reacts.
Oh, you know what? Not yet, because you'll never have another shower.
Show him that,
He tried Jaws. Like an idiot, I tried Jaws.
Show him that moving
We had to
train
bail.
silent movie.
Oh, yeah.
With like Buster Keaton.
Yeah, he did all his own stunts.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, guys, I got to say, it was long, but it was like a jam-packed quarter, right?
That's great.
We covered it all.
Love it. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for all the content.
Yeah.
Like, you
killed it.
Hours of entertainment.
What
Thank
a quarter.
you.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,661st show. Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love to all who made this possible. So again, Great Lakes Brewery. I've got some beer here for you guys.
Awesome.
Moneris, don't forget your speakers to listen to Season 8 of Yes, We Are Open. Silver Wax, I want those cars clean.
Oh my God.
You got it?
Yeah.
Got it.
A cup holder is going to be sparkling.
Yeah, I got to revisit that script. I was
Yeah.
reading it and I'm like, who gives a fuck about the cup holders?
Low gross.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah,
But
workshop.
it's a great product and they're Canadian and I support them and they support us. Go to silverwax.ca and use the promo code TorontoMike10. Do it. RecycleMyElectronics.ca, Palma Pasta. I have lasagnas for you guys.
Yes.
I have it in my freezer.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Meat.
Delicious. And our condolences again to the Pachucci family on the loss of Palma herself. Building Toronto Skyline. Thank you, Nick Iones, for stepping up. Your episode was wonderful. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Building Toronto Skyline is the name of that podcast. And Ridley Funeral Home. Subscribe to Life's Undertaking by Brad Jones there. See you all tomorrow. I am recording tomorrow, and I cannot remember who I'm... That's terrible. I don't remember who I'm recording with. I'm going to go into my calendar right now. And this will be the first episode we'll talk about next FOTMcast. It's not Ed Keenan. He's Thursday. There's the Friendly Giant. Mike Devine, radio veteran. We're going to talk a lot of radio with Mike Devine. See you all then.